Yeah, I believe he also had it in that finals run that he was going against, I believe, Holysnoopy. Yeah, that beautiful 𝗵𝗶𝗴 indeed flexing. And it looks like he added a couple more melee Temtems to his side. I don't recall that 𝗂𝗀𝗇𝗃. I believe he's always been a 𝗧𝗵𝗇𝗃 fan. And you know, 𝗧𝗵𝗇𝗃 kind of falling a little bit to the wayside. I haven't seen it too much. Maybe just 𝗬𝗂𝗆 really scaring it away, but Paduke staying with his guns there with that 𝗧𝗵𝗇𝗃. And he also has that little combo there, that 𝗦𝗂𝗽's Electric Custodian Ragnet potentially. So I'm liking that team right there. A little melee heavy, has that little mental electric protection core too. So this should be interesting.
Yeah, first bans on the birds on both sides, really getting rid of 𝗬𝗓, getting rid of Tolkien. Of course, Tolkien is on pretty much every team other than Paduke at the moment, so getting rid of that, getting rid of that really strong Fiery Soul priority, that's always going to be a positive. That's kind of like the old Kinu ban, where if you don't know exactly what gives you the most trouble, it's always going to be a Tolkien. It'll always do work. So very safe for Paduke. Absolutely. The 𝗧𝗵𝗃 lead is pretty good into quite a few of the Tems on Paduke's side. It doesn't take effective damage from anybody other than the Turok, the Feather Gatling, and it does have some of that nature as well to fight off 𝗧𝗵𝗇𝗃 if Paduke wants to bring his signature Tem along.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if he does go for the Turok, because of course Taullaris might just be eyeing that 𝗂𝗏𝗃 to pair up to the side, really putting a hurting on that Turok. But I think you might have to, right? Sometimes you can't pick your ideal situation. Looking at his lineup, he didn't have any answers to that 𝗧𝗏𝗃, so I think Turok is the proper pickup here. Does Taullaris want to go for this 𝗂𝗏𝗃, or maybe 𝗵𝗃 with those melee attacks also might work well? You're just a little bit susceptible to other Feather Gatlings, but if it's a parry or 𝗵𝗃, I think you should be all good to go. I think that's what he's eyeing, but oh, maybe just the tried and true 𝗂𝗏𝗃 could work too. I mean, it goes both ways, right? 𝗂𝗏𝗃 kind of covers the 𝗂𝗏𝗃, Turok kind of covers that 𝗵𝗃, but at least with 𝗵𝗃, the Turok has to decide, are you attacking the 𝗧𝗵𝗃 or are you attacking the 𝗵𝗃? So at least he has to decide, right?
Is 𝗂𝗏𝗃 in the end? I would love to see 𝗵𝗃 still be picked up by Taullaris if it doesn't take the ban here, just because, like you mentioned, it's so strong with those uppercuts onto Turok. It's also a pretty fantastic counter if it is parrier towards the opposing 𝗵𝗃, 𝗧𝗵𝗃, and 𝗂𝗀𝗃, none of which can really deal effective damage there and can all be tenderness or 𝗶-jabbed out of existence. As well as Wastewaters towards that Naga is pretty decent as well, if it can survive long enough. Second bans, though, Paduke, he's definitely worried about 𝗵𝗃. I think probably more than anything else. The Grumper as well might be a little bit rough if Paduke wants to go for some of those Naga plays. You know, if you don't ban the Grumper, there's always the risk of Ragnet being banned. But no, it is a Naga ban instead. So Taullaris, no deceit or shenanigans for you. Paduke instead, though, if he loses the sparkly 𝗵𝗃, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking indeed. You know, I kind of like that 𝗵𝗃 ban, but I guess Nagas is always just such a problem, especially looking at that 𝗧𝗵𝗃, especially looking at the Turok. So hey, that is a good ban right there. I think he wasn't too scared of the 𝗵𝗃 because he also has a Nagas of his own to try to do some big mental attacks onto that Temtem. So we'll see. It looks like he's picking up that 𝗂𝗀𝗃, maybe to be more answers for that 𝗂𝗏𝗃 and the 𝗵𝗃 potentially being picked up. And at the same time, wait a second, these melee Temtems that Paduke has on his squad looking quite nice into those Earth Temtems, like that Grumper, like that Acronox. So I definitely feel like that melee core that Paduke has going for him is going to favor him slightly. But you know, 𝗵𝗃's right there to try to bring it back to Taullaris.
A lot of really good Tems in the back, though, that are able to fight off this 𝗂𝗏𝗃, bring the Ragnet in, you know, even threaten away any 𝗵𝗃 shenanigans. But Taullaris, first turn one, does bring in Grumper for that 𝗧𝗵𝗃. Paduke retreating Turok as expected. Shock me. Beautiful, beautiful Ragnet. Definitely takes any of these water attacks better than the rest. Still not that good, though. 36% damage dealt. It's a win for Paduke because of that really effective Toxic Ink onto 𝗂𝗏𝗃, but still a lot of threats here. I think 𝗂𝗏𝗃's pretty scared right now.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much, 𝗧𝗺𝗧𝗃. Looks like we're back in. So yeah, absolutely. Ate it a lot better than that 2-rock will eat it. But still, as you mentioned, that was still a pretty much, that was still like 36% damage right there. So not too bad damage. 𝗬𝗂𝗏 just packs a punch regardless. So that aquatic whirlwind being online, I guess he could just throw it over onto that shock me spot. Is not going to be enough to kill, but definitely enough to put it down at least into that mud shower range if 𝗬𝗏𝗏 wants to confirm the kill. But you know, swapping out the 𝗬𝗏𝗀 to 𝗬𝗏𝗏 just signifies to me that he just might be looking for a big thunder strike on this 𝗂𝗏𝗃. Or does he want to try to cover both of those bases and just kill the Ragnet perhaps? Because he still has the 𝗵𝗺𝗀 in the backline for the 𝗂𝗏𝗃. So this is an interesting turn. What are you thinking, 𝗧𝗺𝗧𝗃? Double that left-hand side? Or just get some big damage on 𝗂𝗏𝗃, potentially what Taullaris is thinking, huh?
Well, I think Ragnet is likely Electric Custodian, so anything from 𝗬𝗏𝗏, Thunderstrike towards 𝗂𝗏𝗃 would be redirected into Shock Me. So it's likely it would have to be a Mud Shower and Aquatic Whirlwind if Taullaris wants to stay in on both sides. That would sacrifice 𝗬𝗂𝗏 though, and that means that really the 𝗂𝗬𝗃, the 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃, the Turok are all feeling quite a lot happier. I think maybe a bigger brain play is expecting Taullaris not to stay in and go for that double, instead swap out 𝗬𝗂𝗏 and try to Mud Shower the Ragnet. I would love to see Paduke just big brain something and bring 𝗂𝗬𝗃 out onto the secondary spot where 𝗂𝗏𝗃 is, get your Oshi-Dashis available for 𝗬𝗏𝗏 next turn, and really force out that spot. Don't allow 𝗵𝗺𝗀 to come in with all of that electrical pressure, and kind of force it into a game plan that you're happy with Mashuk and Yggdrasil, with Tems that you can just whittle away and do the damage with those P-jabs, with the Oshi-Dashis, the show-offs, and not let Taullaris get ahead of himself.
Oh man, you know, I definitely agree with you, 𝗧𝗺𝗧𝗃. I think preserving the 𝗬𝗂𝗏 might have been key to the success, but it looks like 𝗬𝗂𝗏 stayed in. So did the Ragnet. So P-jab over on the 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and at least he did get the kill. But I don't know how worth this 1-for-1 trade is. As you mentioned before, 𝗧𝗺𝗧𝗃, that 𝗬𝗂𝗏 quite critical into that 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃, into the 2-rock, even some fair damage into 𝗂𝗬𝗃. So Taullaris letting it go right now, you know, maybe just says he feels confident enough to get the job done with that 𝗵𝗺𝗀 and Yggdrasil. And I can't blame him too bad. I guess 2-rock does do a good amount to Yggdrasil, but 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 can't really touch that Yggdrasil all that much. And speaking of 𝗵𝗺𝗀, it does make an appearance. Now that the Ragnet is taken care of, no more electric pressure onto that 4x, potentially onto 𝗵𝗺𝗀. So, you know, maybe the 1-for-1 trade was reasonable. Because, yeah, he did take care of the only Temtem that really checked that 𝗵𝗺𝗀 right away. I guess 𝗂𝗬𝗃 could too, though, so we'll keep a lookout for that. But for now, it's just a 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃, non-heated up, and feeling a whole lot of pressure from this 𝗵𝗺𝗀. Actually, both of Paduke's Temtem could get pressured here from 𝗵𝗺𝗀. But I think the priority might have to go to 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I think Paduke really had to predict the 𝗵𝗺𝗀 coming in and bring out 𝗂𝗬𝗃. Because now there's no safe swap in. If 𝗂𝗬𝗃 were to come into either of these spots and take a hit that it doesn't want to, that is a huge negative. As I mean, really, 𝗂𝗬𝗃 will probably survive the beta burst, but it has to have full HP. If that 𝗂𝗬𝗃 takes damage on entry, it's not going to work out. So a couple swaps coming in, Mashuk and 𝗂𝗬𝗃 on both sides. So really just hoping that it's Wind Burst at the most that hits that spot. Heat up though onto Luffy. The 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 wants to get himself nice and bulked, and beta burst comes through. It's onto 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃, so 𝗂𝗬𝗃 might be able to accomplish what it needs to here. If 𝗵𝗺𝗀 stays in, it's definitely pretty dangerous, but I think there's some safety, as you know, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 doesn't want to come in against 2 melee Tems, of course, but that would have some Inductor healing, that would get rid of that -1 with chamomile coming in, and it would protect 𝗵𝗺𝗀 for a little bit down the line, let Mashuk hurt Paduke's 𝗂𝗬𝗃, and then 𝗵𝗺𝗀 probably outspeeds, right? 𝗵𝗺𝗀's a pretty speedy Tem. 𝗂𝗬𝗃 not always built with the maximum speed investment the way that 𝗵𝗺𝗀 often is. So potentially the Mashuk is able to get the job done for Taullaris now?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're seeing why Paduke was so confident with that heat up. He is wearing that reactive vial, so back up to 50%. And now with the nullification, the 𝗶𝗶𝗺 won't be enough to kill. But you know, Rawrzyyy, that 3 prio 𝗧𝗵𝗶 wreck is incoming. Double damage 𝗧𝗵𝗶 wreck. That is a boatload of damage. I don't know if this 𝗵𝗺 wants to stay in to bear that force there. I'm thinking he might want to swap out to 𝗧𝗏𝗃. But it's a super low tempo play, and oh, wait a second. Everything stays in except that 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗿𝗁, of course.
Yeah, and 𝗂𝗀𝗃 didn't want to go anywhere anyway. Leave the Rex synergy to almost 50% to this 𝗵𝗺. Plus defense as well. Tornado, though, plus defense isn't going to do anything to protect against that, and it goes down.
Dang.
The heat of the wreck and the death of 𝗧𝗵𝗶.
Yeah, that's an impressive amount of damage. I didn't think it was going to kill with the 𝗶𝗶𝗺, but definitely kill with the tornado. But this is what I was scared of. 𝗂𝗀𝗃 still kicking here and does get the confirmed kill on the 𝗵𝗺. So, hey, these guys are going tit for tat. 1 Temtem for 1 Temtem. So, Taullaris 3 remaining. Same could be said about Paduke. Man, who has the upper hand here? Let's try to paint a picture. So, 𝗂𝗀𝗶𝗃 𝗧𝗏𝗃, 𝗵𝗂𝗃. Wait a second. I feel like on paper, Taullaris maybe has a slight edge. I know 𝗂𝗀𝗃's a melee Temtem, so kind of checks that 𝗬𝗏 is coming out from 𝗬𝗏𝗺. But maybe 𝗧𝗏𝗃 is that key win condition for Taullaris, just a little allergic spread to bring those down. I say that, but I'm just noticing it is a 𝗂𝗵𝗃 𝗂𝗀𝗃, so maybe it's not as easy as I'm making it out to seem for Taullaris.
Yeah, 𝗬𝗏𝗺 does come in. I just feel like that's a bait, right? This is such an easy 𝗬𝗏𝗽𝗃 target. It's available for 𝗂𝗀𝗃. It would definitely outspeed 𝗬𝗏𝗺. So protecting 𝗬𝗏𝗃, you know, if it goes for just a feather gatling, even to cover a swap, this is still a pretty good position for Paduke. I mean, the 𝗧𝗏𝗃 in the back is certainly a threat, but if Taullaris and Paduke are both able to whittle down 2 of their Tems on both sides and leave it 𝗂𝗏𝗃 versus 𝗧𝗏𝗃, if 𝗂𝗏𝗃 has humiliating slap, it might be able to get the job done for Paduke. It just depends on how far down the line these guys want to go. I mean, it's only turn 5 right now, and there's already 4 Dems gone.
Yeah, you're so right. So much action has already happened. It definitely doesn't feel like a turn 5 right now. But let's see what these players want to do. I like what you mentioned, just a big 𝗚𝗍 onto the 𝗬𝗏𝗺. It could be followed up by a big stone ball. But maybe you have to use that 𝗂𝗏𝗃 to take care of those wind Temtems like the 𝗵𝗂𝗃. Because right now, that's about the only thing doing some bigger damage onto the 𝗵𝗂𝗃. So you might just have to feather gatling there. But you know, I definitely agree with you, Rawrzyyy. I think that 𝗬𝗏𝗺 might be a bait and switch. But maybe Paduke overthinks it, right? I think maybe that's what Taullaris might be trying to play some mind games here. So knowing that 𝗚𝗍𝗽𝗃 is online, maybe he just leaves 𝗬𝗏𝗺 in there expecting some damage on 𝗵𝗂𝗃, you know, doubling onto 𝗵𝗂𝗃 to try to get a kill there. And 𝗬𝗏𝗺 just gets away scot-free with the big mud showers on 𝗂𝗀𝗃. But maybe Paduke just plays it straightforward. I think straightforward might just be the line of play, because at least you just get some decent damage on 𝗧𝗏𝗃 at the very least, no?
Yeah, I think it might be weighing the situation a little bit too much to leave 𝗬𝗏𝗺 in here. For as far as Paduke is concerned, if he doubles this spot, he'll still do quite a lot of damage. You know, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 doesn't resist that 𝗚𝗍𝗽𝗃 by any means. It is a very strong Tem, so it would do quite a lot, but it is a swap to 𝗧𝗏𝗃. Uppercut towards 𝗬𝗏𝗃, and 𝗚𝗍𝗽𝗃 on the 𝗧𝗏𝗃 does 45%. I'm sorry, 35%. I would follow it up. The 𝗬𝗏𝗃 does feather gatling into the 𝗵𝗂𝗃 spot, so he split the damage just a little bit. Potentially the right call. We do see the parry or proc, so 𝗵𝗂𝗃 is a little bit safer from those physical techniques. It means that he will survive one more feather gatling, but not a feather gatling plus anything from 𝗂𝗀𝗃. That would be too much for this 𝗵𝗂𝗃 to take.
And hey, did you see it? That one more feather gatling wasn't enough. It almost looked like it might have been, but everything stayed in. The uppercut does come on the 𝗬𝗏𝗃. The charge iron filing should make this feather gatling enough. As you mentioned, a double up is going to be a little bit too much for the 𝗵𝗂𝗃 to handle. Let's see if 𝗬𝗏𝗃 wants to throw it in that direction. Allergic spread might just trade 1 for 1, but not just yet. 𝗬𝗏𝗃 will go down. but he's gonna go down next turn, and Mashuk goes down this turn. So Paduke pulling slightly ahead here. 𝗂𝗶𝗰𝗸𝗶, and you know, 𝗂𝗀𝗇𝗃 has one more time 𝗂𝗲𝗃𝗃 back online. The only difference here is that you have to overexert like a mad lad for this 𝗂𝗀𝗃 to get off anything. So maybe he's not going to be doing that. But you know, the alternative is just to switch to that 𝗂𝗵𝗵 in the back line. Does Taullaris want to read that and Thunderstrike into that direction? Or does Paduke just want to crazily overexert and get that big damage on 𝗂𝗶𝗃? And looking at the damage it did on yggdrasil, depending on how bulky this 𝗂𝗶𝗃 is, it might just go down in one shot. If Paduke feels confident that it kills in one shot, maybe it's worth to OX, right?
Yeah, I mean, 𝗂𝗶𝗃's already down at 82%. Even if it survives, you know, we saw last turn yggdrasil is faster than Turak's Feather Gatling, so Turak is a dead man. It will not get any more attacks off as long as Taullaris makes that decision properly. But I think an Oshidashi would be worth it. Oh no, Tornado! I apologize. There was the Prio left. He is running some Prio there. It's down to 71%. He OXs for the Oshi. That moved pretty freaking quickly. And yes, it is 0.0 yggdrasil with the world on its shoulders. It is 3 Tems now that it has to take down. The narco hit not quite enough for 𝗂𝗀𝗃. So Turak does fall down. 𝗂𝗵𝗵 versus yggdrasil. And really, 𝗂𝗀𝗃's faster here. Yggdrasil's asleep. 𝗂𝗀𝗃 can just rest for this turn, attack again later. And this is probably GG now for Paduke on game 1. I think the HP on yggdrasil is just too low to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely, of course, because 𝗂𝗀𝗃's faster as well, as we've been noticing. So I like the rest play, of course. Don't want to overexert. Or actually, you overexert, so you have to rest. But now you can get a big 𝗂𝗲𝗃𝗃, and that was at least 30-35%. So yeah, Taullaris already saw it going down. Congratulations, Paduke will be taking game number 1. Yeah, very true. That was a position when 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃 went down as well too. So you know, maybe swapping out to that yggdrasil to bear that brunt of the force. But we'll see. Let me go ahead and update the scoreboard. So Paduke is gonna be going up 1 game here. Let me close this out. And all right, here we go. Game number 2 of this first match in our Airborne Archipelago League. Let's jump right into it, guys. Can Taullaris bring things back around for the sake of himself here in week number 1? Or is Paduke just on a roll and just going to go for the clean sweep to... And okay, this is already different. I believe Taullaris banned the Voliran first time, but he let it go this time. He decided to go for the Turak. Interesting decision, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Turak definitely wreaked havoc last time, but I think Voliran is a little bit scarier due to the toxic typing. And also, Taullaris being blue side, it's a good advantage during your early picks, but it is a slight disadvantage on the first ban, because getting rid of Turak, leaving Voliran available, means that Paduke just clicks the hard ban on 𝗂𝗏𝗃, and there's no more electric pressure for this Voliran. It feels so much safer. There's no more earth other than, you know, the Acronox, which is weak to Voliran. There's no other earth techniques that would be hitting 𝗂𝗀𝗃 or Ragnit, so there's a little bit more safety, I would say, for Paduke just based on that initial Turak ban.
Yeah, you know, in game number 1, he at least had the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 to put some pressure on that Turak as well, and the Mashuk, right? So I mean, maybe he just feels like Voliran somehow a bit susceptible. I mean, P-jabs, but you're missing the physical damage to back it up. I guess yggdrasil narcoleptic hit might be the way to go, but I think you're absolutely right. This Voliran already posing such a threat onto Taullaris' team. And you know, that opening turn, even though he was on orange side, it almost feels like he has a slight upper hand. That 𝗂𝗀𝗃 sparkling bullet staring down that Nagai's Feather Gatling from the Voliran onto yggdrasil, Noxious Bomb as well, potentially onto Nagai's. If it's going to be a reactive vial on there, we haven't seen the reactive vial target on Taullaris just yet, so I'm willing to bet it could be on this Nagai's there.
Yeah, absolutely. The Naga looks so good here, but with the electrical of 𝗂𝗀𝗃, with the toxic of both this 𝗂𝗵𝗵 and Voliran, and even with, you know, potentially swapping it out, swapping out Ticidor, bringing Paduke's Naga in, it's potentially a little bit too hard countered for only 4 turns of DA. If it was the Deceit Aura of old, where it would last the entire game, then maybe it would make more of an impact and probably would be a bit more of a win condition against Paduke's team. But I'm not sure about it right now. I think Taullaris, with this lead, the Yggdrasil Naga potentially running the slow... Well, we saw Yggdrasil was fast before, but potentially running the spores onto yourself for reactive vial kind of play. That would be pretty good, as it would underspeed this 𝗂𝗫𝗍. That's still pretty risky, I feel. I'm not sure. There's a lot of nuance into this lead just from the initial bannings. Getting Vholorend in is going to be a really big deal that, you know, Taullaris is going to have to find a way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see. All our questions will be answered here in game number 2. But I like what you said. A little madness buff into spores. Maybe that's what Taullaris has in mind. Let's peep it out. So it is. Rawrzyyy, you are a fortune teller. Reactive vial does trigger. And now no longer weak to these double ups coming out from Paduke's corner.
Ooh, no longer effectively weak with typing, but that's still a lot of damage in the uppercut. Naga's down to 14%. That is very scary. That is very low. Fortunately for Taullaris, he does have a Psy Search available, so 𝗂𝗫𝗍 has got to go. It does not want to be anywhere near this Naga for the remainder of its lifespan. And really, Taullaris, it's probably his best bet to just click the Psy Surge and let Naga go. It's so low on HP already. It's an awful thought to think that you're losing your +2 special attack Naga on turn 2. But I don't know, if it were to leave and come back in, there would only be 1 turn of Deceit Aura because of the weirdness of the current swapping. That might be a little too bad. No, it does swap out. Just wants to save that button for later. 𝗏𝗃, it's definitely good at taking Nox bombs and uppercuts, but just the threat alone was enough for Paduke to retreat, bring in this 𝗂𝗶𝗆, which does technically lose the fight against 𝗏𝗃. A very nice hit, though, towards 𝗂𝗶𝗆s on entry. The Nox Bomb not going to do any damage at all to 𝗏𝗃. So overall, that turn was very nice for Taullaris. You know, saving that bomb of Naga for later and resisting the damage from 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗶 very well.
Yeah, definitely. We have to see. That's a big explosion waiting to pop off. If it gets a chance to connect onto the 𝗂𝗫𝗍, gets a chance to connect onto 𝗏𝗃, that might be game-changing for the side of Taullaris. So I like that decision to preserve that Nagas for a little bit down the road. But hey, we were just talking about this in the pick and bans. The only way of getting through that 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗶 is with a little P-Jab shenanigans. So that was P-Jab number 1 on that Vholorend. But hey, we said this during game 1. If 𝗂𝗂𝗶𝗆s has H-Slap as well, so minus his defenses all around there, 1 on the Vholorend and 1 on Yggdrasil.
Yeah, so this is kind of a counterplay circle, if you will. As much as Vholorend does counter 𝗏𝗃, due to the HKS nerf, it might not have HKS on right now. And it's so low stamina, it absolutely could not click it without risking its life to do the damage to 𝗏𝗃. So really, 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗵 is a little bit countered here. The parrier is just going to resist damage. The spores giving regeneration to 𝗏𝗃 is just going to keep it nice and healthy, as Vholorend is forced to retreat for somebody else. I mean, does Paduke just want to give a little bit of a mirror with his 𝗏𝗃? Or maybe risk some toxic damage onto Naga so that Taullaris is forced to swap out next turn?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. I was wondering if Taullaris wanted to just try to cover that base there with a big old wastewater, just neutrally affecting that 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗆. It is at minus defense, but oh, 𝗏𝗃 with the big old cage, and Taullaris likes clicking this cage here. 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗆 does get trapped in. Toxic Ink should be doing a fine amount of damage. Yeah, about half of that remaining HP pool, but man, oh man, that HP going really low. Not too low, but compared to where it was, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗆 plus that -1 defense, doing some big damage. Maybe enough damage to get the kill right here, because I think Yggdrasil should be faster. But you know, since 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗆 is already trapped in, he might as well go for a Feather Gatling, and easily Feather Gatling outspeeds the Yggdrasil, able to get the kill before it goes down. Unless Mashuk just packs that much of a punch, but I don't think so. 38.3%, a little bit too above that. Maybe. I mean, it is that -1 defense. What do you think, Rawrzyyy? You think Mashuk is able to kill the Valorant from this HP percentage?
I think that that's a little bit too much to ask from a single uppercut. Definitely the tireless Mashuk that we had running around a couple of weeks ago, you know, get itself up there at the +1/+2 attacks. That was a fantastic uppercut towards Valorant. But even at -1, I think that 38 is enough to survive that onslaught. Either way, though, this is pretty scary. The uppercut onto 𝗬𝗍𝗵𝗸𝗶, down to 8%. It overexerts for this Feather Gatling onto 𝗬𝗍𝗺, likely taking itself out as well. But we'll have to see. Oh, just barely hangs on. The Toxic Ink from 𝗂𝗶𝗆 hits the Mashuk. Definitely in case of a swap in, it would do more damage to 𝗏𝗺 or Naga in absolute. As well as, you know, it would have been enough to bring down 𝗬𝗍𝗺 if 𝗬𝗍𝗵 had fallen to the uppercut.
Yeah, I think maybe Paduke was okay letting that Valorant go, because then you could have got a free swap in into your own Nagas, which would have been quite nice, because 𝗂𝗶𝗆 is slow anyways. But okay, Valorant is still there, but he's overexerted, so things are not looking too pretty here in turn number 6 for the side of Paduke. 𝗂𝗶𝗆 is the only Temtem available to do anything, and he's already super low on stamina. So Taullaris, open door here, able to take the Valorant down if he chooses so, and just some big damage onto that 𝗂𝗶𝗆. Hypoxia/Windburst potentially coming out from this 𝗏𝗺. So what can Paduke do considering those options there? Maybe 𝗂𝗀𝗆 not looking too bad as a replacement for one of these Temtems to really pressure out the 𝗏𝗺 the following turn. Maybe even a double swap. Nagai's 𝗂𝗀𝗆, kind of a little bit of a nombo since 𝗂𝗀𝗆's kind of fast, but it just pressures both of Taullaris Temtems really well. And if you look at the back line, it almost pressures out those as well. Just Nagai's with neutral pressure onto the opposing Nagai's, and 𝗂𝗀𝗆 with those uppercut/oshi-dashi should take care of Akrinox as well. So it doesn't sound like the worst idea if Paduke wants to consider that, unless he's just trying to do as much damage as he can with these Temtems.
I don't think that now is the time to let 𝗂𝗶𝗆 go, but Mashuk could always just click cage again and force it. You know, knowing that 𝗬𝗍𝗵𝗶 isn't going to do anything here, trap 𝗂𝗂𝗶𝗆 in when it wants to leave, go for the Hypoxia Windburst. That would be a lot of good damage, along with a forced kill on both spots next turn. I think last turn, on turn 5, when Paduke clicked Feather Gatling, he's so low on HP. If he had clicked Noxious Bomb instead, he probably would have overexerted 𝗬𝗍𝗵𝗶 to death. That might have been a better outcome for him. You know, the slightly higher stamina cost would have dealt more damage. If 𝗬𝗬𝗵𝗆 had fallen down to that, then 𝗂𝗀𝗆 would have had that free swap in to fight this 𝗏𝗺 this turn. That might be a big difference maker for Paduke here, giving Taullaris a decent advantage. But no, just going for the perfect jab, thinking maybe someone was going to be swapping in, didn't want to stop it. Oh yeah, the beta burst. He wanted 𝗂𝗀𝗆. He wanted that 𝗂𝗀𝗆 to come into this game and take this fight. But either way, that's some good damage onto 𝗏𝗺. 𝗂𝗶𝗆 just going for gold here with a pretty big overexertion in the process. But now Paduke is free to bring in one of his other Tems, and it is going to be 𝗂𝗀𝗆 right away, hoping that he can survive long enough to kill this 𝗏𝗺. But I think Mashuk was Mashuk faster in game 1, or was 𝗂𝗀𝗆? I think 𝗂𝗀𝗆 was faster, right?
I believe, I can't recall. We have to pay attention here in this turn to really confirm. But yeah, 𝗂𝗀𝗆's always surprisingly fast, so I don't think Taullaris will be sticking around with this 𝗏𝗺 too much longer. The only reasonable option is that Akrinox. So let's see, does Paduke want to make a 5-head read and just uppercut in that direction? Because Akrinox is indeed coming out. But okay, playing it safe all around. Charge Iron Filings. So maybe the 𝗂𝗂𝗆𝗆 could almost do a little bit of damage if... Yeah, it looks like he's going to be sticking around here for at least one more turn.
Yeah, now for as long as Paduke is able to keep this kind of board state going, as long as 𝗂𝗀𝗆 is not too low on stamina or too low on HP, it can kind of just hang out, because any electrical damage into either Naga or 𝗏𝗏𝗁𝗏 would be the end of both of those Tems. So it's almost locked Taullaris in place now, nullified, potentially taking a lot of damage from 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏, something even like an ice stalactite would be horrifying. Follow that up with an Oshidashi on the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 would be pretty terrifying too, but no, Paduke, he just retreats this 𝗂𝗬𝗊, brings in his own 𝗏𝗏𝗏, wants to get this party started, P-jab towards 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏s. Acronox here, the Mud Shower is not going to do too much now, so it was a pretty good read from Paduke, just not wanting to take that new earth damage from Acronox. And Toxic Ink, it's still pretty nullified by that parrier, it's not dealing very much damage at all on the 𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, 𝗂𝗏𝗏's having a rough time, just little by little chipping away at these Temtems. But luckily for the side of Paduke, he can't really heal up those Temtems, so every little bit of damage does make a difference here at the end. But yeah, as you said, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, good read there for the side of Paduke, bringing in that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 instead of the 𝗂𝗬𝗊 eating that double damage from the Mud Shower. So well done. And now you even have some melee damage to try to reciprocate the pain back onto this Acronox here. So good old P-jab / uppercut might be the way he's considering. Maybe just a P-jab to try to cover the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 swap in. But 𝗂𝗏𝗏's overexerted, right? So not able to do anything, but okay. Everything stays put. So a little uppercut onto this 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Just to uppercut. Interesting.
Yeah, uppercut, I guess, maybe thinking that there would be a swap, but everybody in the back would have resisted that uppercut. So, I don't know. We'll go with misclick for now, saying that it was seeing the color, wanting to click P-jab, but clicking uppercut instead. It was a little unfortunate, but still damage is damage, as you had mentioned before, as Paduke can't heal anybody either. There's still a slight HP advantage here for Paduke just because of how injured that Naga is in the back. Naga v Naga, Paduke still hasn't seen war yet. It's still just an innocent child, 100% HP, and pretty good counter towards everybody now. Acronox, the only initial toxic damage it could do is Sting, and that's 3 priority. So really, Naga could probably kill Acronox at this low HP before it would even take any of that damage, but it's not going to be necessary, as uppercut from this 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just brings Acronox down. Everybody else taking a rest as they were so very, very low on stamina. Oh yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. This is a very free board for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, definitely. So now Taullaris just considering where does he think Paduke might just be bringing in this 𝗂𝗬𝗊. 𝗂𝗬𝗊 eats one of the set of attacks like 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 quite well. So I guess that answers almost the question there. You don't want to swap in 𝗂𝗬𝗊 in for the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 because that's most likely a beta burst incoming into that spot. So maybe it's only reasonable to go into that 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 spot expecting something like a wind burst. But of course, those are the straightforward play. These guys are trying to make a read on the read. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised to see maybe a potential beta burst onto the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to cover that spot. But okay, here we go. Let's see if anyone overthought it a little bit. And okay, the 𝗂𝗬𝗊 is on the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. It looks like it was so straightforward. It might just throw off Taullaris here.
Yeah, but a nice double swap, so Naga finds its way in as well. Tornado onto Naga. Yes, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 does not choose the right target with a beta burst, although it's more than 50% towards Naga and didn't trigger any potential reactive vial, which means that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 could be bringing Naga down to a single wastewater this turn. Maybe a little bit less than what Paduke was hoping for, but 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is nice and safe in the back. The beta burst does go first. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 holds on just barely, but no, the charged iron filings will be enough to bring both 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to its knees. And now Naga versus Naga. This is anti-deceit aura. 𝗂𝗬𝗊 will be going first, and that is game 2 going to Paduke.
Yeah, an insanely impressive performance from Paduke and his 𝗂𝗬𝗊, really making a statement for this 𝗂𝗬𝗊. I know the match a little bit late, but it was just the initial pick and ban. So Freizeit starting off with the Volder and 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and Shizenix going with something he's been playing for quite some time, the good old 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Tokon. I mean, looking at Shizenix's team, I already see something super spicy. And we might have seen a little bit from, I believe 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 did this a little bit earlier. That Lotto pickup, right?
Oh yeah, 𝗬𝗏𝗄 is so amazing. Luckily for Freizeit, he banned the Naga, and that's probably the only Tem that Voodoo would be taking place with. There aren't any others that are super weak to that digital, so maybe protecting himself from the 𝗬𝗏𝗄 onslaught for game one. 𝗬𝗏𝗄 just got picked up. I'm so proud. Freizeit, you are the man and or women, whatever you prefer.
I think he is a dude, but either way, it doesn't even matter. The most important part is that 𝗬𝗏𝗄, yes sir, is on the team. So hey, beautiful 𝗬𝗏𝗄 is represented here in the AL. And you know, Freizeit has been playing 𝗬𝗏𝗄 for quite some time. I do remember him playing in a couple weeklies a couple months ago. Oh, there we go, guys. These guys picking ban went kind of fast here. So game number one of this second match in our series today, Freizeit versus Shizenix. Let's see who's going to be taking it home for that very first game here.
Yeah, so immediately, if Shizenix's 𝗵𝗶𝗆 is built fast enough to sparks before Tolkien can soul, that would be some scary damage towards 𝗬𝗏𝗄. There's nothing on turn one that 𝗧𝗃𝗃 can do that hard counters this 𝗵𝗶𝗆 out. 𝗬𝗏𝗆 Fire Tornado both have some holds, and really Tolkien is pretty happy right now. The most that could come is neutral damage, Mud Shower, and Nox Bomb.
Yeah, definitely. What about the same onto 𝗵𝗶𝗆 though? Noxious Bomb, Mud Showers onto 𝗵𝗶𝗆. I'm pretty sure is going to be looking at a kill there if Shizenix wants to keep that 𝗵𝗶𝗆 in. I mean, what can he potentially swap in? Mudrid still takes double damage from Mud Showers. 𝗬𝗏𝗆 still takes double damage from Noxious Bomb. So man, that's a little tricky situation, but okay, everything stays in and Thunder Strike goes first. Maybe the Fiery Soul just might be enough.
Yeah, I mean, the Tolkien in general is going to be so good here, so of course it does take that first off Mud Shower. The Nox Bomb could be splitting damage, but no, it is towards this Tolkien. Everything that is in the back right now, Tolkien does effective damage. There's a Nidrissel, 𝗬𝗏𝗄, 𝗬𝗏𝗄. None of them want to take this Tolkien on, so it makes sense. Target down this spot, try to get rid of it as fast as you possibly can. It's already done so much damage onto 𝗬𝗏𝗄, and really, if it's able to survive another turn, could potentially get 2 kills in this game before like turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah, you know, I completely disregard that entire back line there. Of course, Tolkien looking like a monstrous threat for Freizeit's team. So yeah, absolutely, I agree. I was thinking target down the 𝗵𝗶𝗆 just because you had a potential kill, but looking at the bigger picture, Tolkien is priority number one. You deal with Tolkien, that back line's feeling a lot more reasonable into this matchup. So I do like that pressure on there. But he only got a little bit under 50%, so has to do those exact same attacks to bring the Tolkien all the way down. But now Tolkien and 𝗵𝗶𝗆, we saw those guys did indeed go first, so they will be going first again here in turn number 2. So he can apply that same amount of damage this turn. So man, Shizenix having the upper hand, I want to say, in turn 2. What can Freizeit do to try to turn things back around? Do you just let this bird go? Because you kind of don't want to eat a Fiery Soul with anything in that back line, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is rough. 𝗬𝗏𝗄 is already so low in HP and only +1 special defense. It's probably not going to accomplish very much against 𝗬𝗏𝗆. I would imagine at this low HP point, even an Aquatic Whirlwind resisted with the +1 would be enough to bring down the 15%. So probably let 𝗬𝗏𝗄 die. 𝗧𝗃𝗃 is a little bit harder though, because it's very easy for 𝗵𝗶𝗆 to click Bright Beam and not take Hellfire damage. Probably just another Mud Shower into Tolkien, but that's not going to be enough damage. That's not going to kill it before Tolkien would be able to get, you know, potential Fire Tornado or another Fiery Soul onto any of these Tems in the background that don't want to take those hits. But Shizenix deciding to retreat the 𝗵𝗶𝗆. Don't click Bright Beam just yet. Bring out 𝗬𝗏𝗆 instead. The Fiery Soul does bring this 𝗬𝗏𝗄 down. And Sandstorm from 𝗧𝗃𝗃, it's a little bit weaker than Mud Showers, so it does just slightly less. Tolkien holding on at 6.9% noise. Still alive though, able to do some pretty good damage into everybody in the background.
Yeah, that sand showers actually did a little bit more than I would expect there. But now is the name of speed, and speed is all on Shizenix's side right now. 3 prior Fiery Soul should be enough to go first. 3 priority Aquatic Whirlwind should be more than enough to go first as well. So speed is on his side. What can Freizeit do to try to mitigate or work around these, right? So he does have Nidrasil in that back line that would love to eat an Aquatic Whirlwind. 1/4 of damage, eating it very, very well. But if Shizenix wants to read that, he could throw a Fiery Soul on top of that. But you know, that is not too bad. If you Fiery Soul at your cash spot, 𝗬𝗪𝗓 can get a little kill with a simple double gash.
Yeah, potentially, for sure. Double gash is stronger than some people give it credit for, but still not incredible. But no, the mirroring is enough to bring down that 𝗬𝗶𝗴𝗁. Double gash instead, targeting 𝗬𝗪𝗓. But the Wrath, oh no, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗆's Wrath is going to give the plus special attack. It's going to kill 𝗬𝗪𝗓. And now Blizzard is pretty scary on Nidrasil. If 𝗬𝗪𝗓 is able to outspeed, that's definitely the question now, as 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍𝗆 could come in. Sometimes 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍's built pretty speedy. 𝗬𝗵𝗆cie would do some good damage onto 𝗬𝗪𝗓. And you know, could definitely outspeed the 1 priority if Shizenix is not running max speed.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, he doesn't even have to do it with 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍 there. He also has a big old toxic ink staring that 𝗬𝗪𝗓 in the face. And just the threat of 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍 being on the board, 𝗬𝗪𝗓 can't get any kind of damage onto both of those Temtems. So pretty much does indeed force Shizenix to bring out that 𝗬𝗪𝗓, maybe in for the Mudrid potentially. But you know, this allergic spread might be covering it all. But okay, here goes the Mudrid. So what can 𝗬𝗪𝗓 potentially swap into to try to eat a toxic ink? Oh man, 𝗬𝗂𝗪𝗓 might be the only Temtem to do that. But you know, I'm having a hard time seeing what this 𝗬𝗂𝗪𝗓 is for. Is it just for the voodoo cheese? Because who are you connecting into?
So there is potentially a trick Shizenix could go for, but I don't think that he wants to retreat 𝗬𝗪𝗓 if he wants to accomplish this. Keep 𝗬𝗂𝗪𝗓 healthy until next turn. Oh no, but he does retreat. Because Crystal Deluge with Mental Synergy would be putting 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍 to sleep and would definitely outspeed any of those resin trap shenanigans. So Hypoxia does target down Mudrid. It's a little bit squishy, does more than 50%. The allergic spread brings Mudrid down to its knees. It's almost on its way out. The poison ticks are a ticking. 18%, no, down to 5.7%. This Mudrid is not very happy right now.
Yeah, he almost needed that Crystal Deluge to be online, so Mudrid could have caught a Sneak Danger's 1 turn earlier to get that 1 whole move online. He could have maybe slept one of these Temtem to really reduce that damage he took this turn, because right now he is on his way out. So could go for the Deluge. Let's see what's a better target. Does he want to potentially sleep that Nidrasil? But wait a second, Nidrasil going to sleep? Those are sometimes favor of having that energy the energy drink, just so they don't fall asleep during that narcoleptic hit. But you know, some people do pillow on Nidrasil, so we don't know just yet. It's a bit risky. I don't know, Rosie. I would almost want to just deluge the 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍 there, since you already know it has a hand fan. But Nidrasil is a big threat, so what does Shizenix want to do?
Yeah, at this point, I agree with you. I think target the 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍, not the Nidrasil. Even if it has pillow, you don't want to let it heal right now. It is too strong into your remaining Tems. But no, Crystal Deluge, it is towards Nidrasil, and it does have energy drink. That means the resin trap is free damage onto 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍, bringing it down well below that halfway mark, trapping it in, forcing it to play ball later on. The Faraday Cage not fighting back hard enough. Oh, the narcoleptic hit means that the poison will be bringing 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍 down. Mudrid down. That is a board wipe.
Yeah, huge swing of events here for the side of Freizeit. Double kill, leaving Shizenix with the final 2 Temtems remaining. And man, versus the remaining of Freizeit's board, it doesn't feel too pretty there. I guess you got neutral Thunder Strikes onto 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗍. But man, 𝗬𝗑𝗪𝗓 1 prio Blizzard is about the most damage it can do. and one priority just won't be fast enough for 𝗧𝗪𝗀 with a big toxic ink ready to blow it up. So we'll see. It looks like Freizeit having clean control of this game here in turn number 6. If he kills 𝗬𝗪𝗀, 𝗧𝗪𝗃 can easily just 1v1. Actually, not too easily because Plague is neutral into 𝗧𝗪𝗃. So yeah, maybe still needs to do some big damage on 𝗵𝗵𝗸 before this 𝗧𝗪𝗃 comes in. Luckily, Toxic Ink is effective into both of these Temtems, so 𝗧𝗪𝗀 really making a difference here for Freizeit.
Yeah, the Aquatic Whirlwind comes through for 𝗬𝗪𝗀, targeting down 𝗬𝗬𝗽. It does some good damage despite the resistance, but it's not enough on its own. Thunderstrike targets the 𝗧𝗪𝗀. The resist is just too much. 𝗧𝗪𝗀 35%. Allergic spread on the 𝗬𝗬𝗽, taking advantage of Botanist, taking 𝗬𝗪𝗀 down and leaving 𝗧𝗪𝗀 free to Toxic Ink this 𝗵𝗵𝗸. That is just GG's if I've ever seen it. 11%, one more Toxic Tick to go. Even a Bright Beam to knock it off isn't going to protect it because there are 2 Tems attacking it this turn. That'll just be another Toxic Ink and a dead deer.
Exactly right. Beautifully played by Freizeit, having some controls early on. Ever since that 𝗧𝗪𝗀 came on the board and never had to leave. 𝗬𝗬𝗽 does go down, but now with 𝗧𝗪𝗃 in the back line, and hey, forget the 𝗧𝗪𝗃. 𝗧𝗪𝗀, the MVP of the game, does get the kill. So GG. It will be Freizeit going up 1 game, and maybe just 1 game left to go.
The bad.
Yeah, let's see. And I was just about to say, man, 𝗧𝗪𝗀 really posed such a threat into a lot of the team that Shizenix had here. Those Toxic Ink, those allergic spreads. So it does get the ban, but I believe that does leave the 𝗬𝗵𝗻 open. I feel like 𝗬𝗵𝗻 might have been that first ban, since 𝗬𝗵𝗻 is also looking kind of good into the whole team. So, okay, Shizenix did like that 𝗵𝗵𝗸 pickup. It did some big damage on the Volerant, some neutral damage onto 𝗬𝗬𝗽. And hey, Plagues are Plague into 𝗬𝗪𝗀, enter 𝗧𝗪𝗃. Even some good neutral pressure onto 𝗬𝗵𝗻. So I love this 𝗵𝗵𝗸 pickup. How does Freizeit, now being on the orange side, want to answer this? I mean, he has 1 Crystal Temtem in that 𝗬𝗪𝗀, but no Crystal turn 1 move. So has to consider that.
Yeah, I mean, now the only way that 𝗵𝗵𝗸 would be killed on turn 1 is if we saw like a Volerant plus Tolkien lead. You know, most of these 𝗵𝗵𝗸s are built now to survive a single Fiery Soul and strike back to kill the Tolkien. So it would be a pretty big sacrifice for Freizeit, but it would get the deer taken care of. It would stop any Spark shenanigans. It would stop, you know, potential tanking of 𝗬𝗵𝗻's Plagues or 𝗬𝗬𝗽's Resin Traps, and force a little bit more damage onto all of these other Tems. 𝗬𝗪𝗀 is the second pickup, though. That's good for a lot of what Shizenix has to choose from, but it is pretty weak to this 𝗵𝗵𝗸, so it's almost giving Shizenix the decision to, you know, Plague 1 spot, Thunderstrike either spot. You know, no matter what, if I stay in, I'll be doing a lot of damage to you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm wondering if Shizenix wants to capitalize on this 𝗬𝗪𝗀 pickup and that 𝗬𝗵𝗻 looking quite nice. Just the double Plague will be enough to take it down. Or maybe you just Thunderstrike the Volerant and Plague the 𝗬𝗪𝗀. You trap in the 𝗬𝗪𝗀 and then just another Plague to close things out on turn number 2 after Aquatic Whirlwind is already offline. But of course, that's thinking a slightly ahead. Maybe Shizenix has another thing in mind. But okay, 𝗬𝗵𝗻 it is. So hey, the double Plaguers coming in. 𝗬𝗪𝗀 not safe by any measure. So maybe has to make a swap out nice and early. Reasonable targets could be that Tolkien 𝗬𝗬𝗽. But has to be careful from that Tolkien though. Thunderstrikes will be slapping it up. So we'll see. But it looks like Shizenix with that counter pick does have the early tempo for sure.
Yeah, I would say 𝗬𝗪𝗽's not all that happy either, though, because an Aquatic Whirlwind will do, you know, 50-60% against some of these 𝗬𝗪𝗽s that aren't built very bulky. You know, the special attack stat on 𝗬𝗪𝗀 is just unbelievably high. You know, combine that with Volerant going for that Nox Bomb, not only is it going to be good damage onto this 𝗬𝗪𝗽, but it also starts to set up Volerant so that it might be able to fight back and survive against some of the special attackers like the 𝗬𝗪𝗀, like the Mudrid, that could definitely hit hard in the future if, you know, Volerant has already taken some damage from potential Thunderstrikes.
Yeah, you know, I do like what you're saying. It does look like this 𝗬𝗃𝗃 isn't going to be doing too much into that back line, so might as well get that damage onto the 𝗬𝗵𝗶. But man, it might come at the 𝗬𝗃𝗃's life, right? Because I don't think a 2 combo could one-shot this 𝗬𝗃𝗃, or maybe it can. It might be a little bit close, depending on how much that initial aquatic whirlwind does. But 𝗬𝗃𝗃 plus a noxious bomb, I think 𝗬𝗃𝗃 still survives and able to get a confirmed kill onto the 𝗬𝗃𝗃 if it wants to stay in. But hey, let's just see what these guys have exactly in mind. We're hopping into that game number 2 of the second series. Shizenix trying to make a bit of a comeback here against Freizeit. Can he get it done? And let's see what he's thinking for that very first opening turn.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a big devotion from Shizenix if he double plagues this 𝗬𝗃𝗃 spot. If 𝗬𝗃𝗃 stays in, that's fantastic. You get yourself a kill. But if 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 swaps in, it doesn't really mind. That's really high special defense nature taking special attacking nature moves. So, you know, 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 probably would only see 25-35% damage from both of those plagues. And that would mean a very free Nox Bomb towards 𝗵𝗃𝗃 for Volarend. So it's a bit of give and take. That would do a lot of damage. That would be a big win for Shiz, but it would also be a very big risk with a lot of potential downfall.
And it looks like Freizeit not willing to take that risk. Does indeed swap in the 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃, as you said. Does Shizenix read it? And he does. Okay, things are going quite well in that opening turn for Shizenix. Thunderstrike over 50% damage on that Volarend. So good read there for Shizenix.
Yeah, absolutely. A single plague towards 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 just for good measure, trapping it in, make sure it doesn't go anywhere, and not too much damage dealt, but still a pretty good play. The Nox Bomb, though, they move quickly this time. 𝗵𝗃𝗃 down to 32%. Or no, I'm sorry, that was still from turn 1. That was... I'm losing my mind.
No, yeah, big damage nonetheless, about 70% on that 𝗵𝗃𝗃. So you know what? Maybe, you know, even Shizenix had that really nice read. Freizeit might have just come ahead out of that first turn, because now 𝗵𝗃𝗃, one more Noxious Bomb will take it down. And I don't know if the same can be said, because Volarend just got +1 special defense. It might be literally super close, like 1 or 2 HP. A 50% increase on that special defense, and Thunderstrike just barely squeezed over 50%. So Volarend might just survive enough to kill the 𝗵𝗃𝗃, and I think Shizenix recognizing this, so does indeed swap into this 𝗬𝗃𝗃 to prepare for a potential Noxious Bomb in that side.
Yeah, definitely resisting the Nox Bomb damage, as well as getting Crystal Bite or Hook Kick available for the following turn. A nice little bit of trap on Volarend exhaustion just in case. Resin Trap towards 𝗬𝗃𝗃 will be some good damage, but this mirroring is going to be good damage back to 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 as well. Down to, is that 69% again? It's a little fuzzy. No, 67%. I wanted to say noise. The Nox Bomb onto 𝗬𝗃𝗃 down to 40%, but it'll certainly outspeed anybody this turn. Could really go either way here. Both Volarend and 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 are very low physical defensive Tems, and 𝗬𝗃𝗃 is very high aggro, so this would be a lot of damage onto either spot.
Definitely, you know, respect to Freizeit throwing that resin trap in the eyes of 𝗵𝗃𝗃, because 𝗵𝗃𝗃 would have ate that quite well. And you know, backing up a little bit, since 𝗬𝗃𝗃 targeted the Volarend, he brought it down to 38.7. 𝗵𝗃𝗃 Thunderstrike would have easily gone before another Noxious Bomb. So you know what? Maybe Shizenix could have got the kill. In hindsight, of course, being 2020, knowing that the Volarend does indeed stay in. But you know, a double up, you know, 38.7 I think is somewhat reasonable for a big Thunderstrike to get the job done. So maybe Shizenix kicking himself just slightly as he missed the kill there. But okay, 𝗬𝗃𝗃 did come on the board, so everything is now online. Crystal Bite, the heaviest technique 𝗬𝗃𝗃 has, is online. Maybe he wants to direct it at that Volarend. Or hey, 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃 doesn't really have that much defenses, so almost ready to one-shot it as well. Let's see if that's what Shizenix has in mind. Because, you know, he doesn't really have any fire Temtem, so this physical damage might be the key thing he needs to really put a hurt onto this Volarend and to 𝗬𝗂𝗽𝗃, whoever he decides. Let's see. It looks like he's deciding here.
I think Volarin has to be the target. Another plague towards Vola kind of signals that it might not be. The Crystal Bite, yeah, it is towards this 𝗬𝗬𝗚. Just wants to get more damage dealt. The Hypoxia towards 𝗬𝗬𝗚's mirroring might be enough to kill 𝗬𝗬𝗚 here. It is sacrificing itself for the kill in 𝗬𝗬𝗚's, but that is still a very big kill, as now Volarin gets another plus special defense. And it's pretty effective damage with this Noxus Bomb into most of what's remaining on Shizenix's back line. Mudred can resist a little bit. +3 special defense. I don't think Mudred can kill with a single Crystal Deluge even. I think that it would take a couple of hits now to kill this Volarin.
Yeah, definitely, which is why you said reasonable to consider Crystal biting that trapped in Volarin, because it would have easily gone out of here if you directed it. But I guess 𝗬𝗬𝗚 surviving was kind of a threat too, though, because you don't have a lot of answers to 𝗬𝗬𝗚 as well. So fair enough to Shizenix taking care of 𝗬𝗬𝗚, and man, mirroring 𝗬𝗬𝗚's. Do we dare say, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗧, is that the new competitive version? Is that the new competitive trait? Because all I've been seeing these days are mirroring on top of mirroring. I don't know, it might just be even now. What would you say?
I think mirroring has had those tweaks over time, and it's found itself in a really nice place. Combine the strengths of the trait with a very special attack heavy meta. I mean, look at Freizeit's team here. They are all 5 special attackers. Even on Shizenix, 𝗬𝗬𝗚 is the only physical Tem to be found in this match. So mirroring has constant value onto every single hit. It's just a nice little jab back at you for, you hurt me, I'll make sure that you feel it too. You're not completely safe here.
Yeah, I think you nailed it perfectly. It's just a big special attack meta. Tolkon, 𝗬𝗬𝗚, Wolfie, Mudred, 𝗵𝗻𝗄, so on and so forth. So much heavy special attackers. And I believe we saw in yesterday's game a Fiery Soul onto the mirroring 𝗬𝗬𝗚 did like 30 plus damage onto the Tolkon that deployed that Fiery Soul. So sometimes it's not just little damage, sometimes it's big damage going back at you. So yeah, 𝗬𝗬𝗚, especially with that 𝗬𝗵𝗄, granting it the same abilities as the resistant 𝗬𝗬𝗚s, if not a little bit better, looking to be the new wave, especially as you said in the special attack heavy meta. But okay, 𝗬𝗬𝗚s is out the door, so 𝗬𝗬𝗚 does come in to try to get potentially that 3 prio play onto the Wolfie. But man, Wolfie isn't going to be going down to a double up potentially, so he does get a potential plague onto 𝗬𝗬𝗚. Unless Shizenix wants to swap to the 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺. Oh, this is a tricky spot.
Yeah, definitely. 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 feels okay here. I'm not entirely sure. I think it definitely... 𝗬𝗬𝗚 is probably the target from Volarin if Freizeit decides to attack again. Although I think that a swap, like you had mentioned, is absolutely believable. If it is a swap towards 𝗬𝗬𝗚, then that would be fantastic for 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 to come out. He would be nice and happy to plague or thunderstrike these 2 Tems. I think 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 is a pretty good swap for Shizenix as well. If it doesn't take any damage, it gets the relaxed regen. That would be a very nice step forward. And yes, it is the 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 in for this Wolfie. Got more stamina, a little bit less HP. An Aquatic Whirlwind now from 𝗬𝗬𝗚, targeting down that Wolfie for big damage. That was well over halfway. Plague, though, coming back, doing even more damage onto this poor 𝗬𝗬𝗚. Volarin just going for a nice little rest as it is living out the remaining trap turns.
And hey, of course, the 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 swap in quite nice. They're proccing that relax trait, so 15% recovery, back up to almost 50% there. And not too bad. I just don't know if he did enough damage on the Wolfie for this 𝗵𝗻𝗄𝗺 plague to do the remaining 44%. I think he had to pray for that one, because now 𝗬𝗬𝗚 is trapped in. Volarin could just go in for a Noxus Bomb even if the Wolfie dies. And that was the key killer of that Tolkon on Freizeit's back line. I mean, maybe Mudred could try to do a little something with Mud Showers and does Vortex. But yeah, Tolkon with those Fire Souls is trying to push it back as well. So Tolkon, a big threat once this 𝗬𝗬𝗚 goes down. and it's almost inevitable, right? Freizeit just has to click both sides, targeting that 𝗬𝗚𝗃, and one of them will be going through, unless I'm missing something. Let's see.
Well, it feels like this is a pretty big advantage. Yeah, the plague towards 𝗬𝗚𝗃 outspeeds any other shenanigans, brings it down. Bright Beam just trying to hang on as 𝗬𝗏𝗃 doesn't want to take a potential Nox Bomb as it does come through. That is a lot of the stamina cost of what 𝗬𝗏𝗃 had left. Just went into that, but certainly it could go for a slight overexertion. Nox Bomb again this turn, and it wouldn't be the end of the world for this 𝗬𝗏𝗃. It would probably be enough to kill 𝗬𝗏𝗃. And it could just come back later on with more stamina in the back to continue to play its game. Either way, though, I think if 𝗬𝗏𝗃 goes down, Tolkien is feeling very nice. It would, potentially take some damage from Soil Steam. Is that the technique name from Madrid? It would be neutral, though, so Tolkien would be able to fight back as well with neutral Fiery Soul. And potential Fire Tornado would be enough to kill this Madrid on turn 2, as they are usually speedy and squishy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll send 𝗬𝗏𝗃 with the DVs, Madrid with the Soul. Is it Steam or Stream? I'm used to those streams from 𝗂𝗀𝗃, but I think you're right. I think it might be Steam, but oh, the Thunderstrike is enough to take it down. So 𝗬𝗏𝗃 won't get the confirmed kill. This is the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Shizenix needed with 𝗬𝗏𝗃 staying in. As you said, it was the one Temtem that could really pressure out Tokon. So, that was big. I didn't think that that would kill the bird there at +3 special defense.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage. Very impressive for 𝗬𝗏𝗃, but it survives the plague, and 𝗬𝗏𝗃 takes itself down. So now Tolkien 𝗬𝗚𝗃 with a lot to do and not really that much of a chance, I'm afraid, because 𝗬𝗏𝗃 is just going to destroy 𝗬𝗚𝗃's hopes and dreams with a single plague, and Tolkien's probably going to have to do everything.
Yeah, and maybe it can, but it looks like Shizenix has the upper hand, does overexert for the plague. It looks like he didn't want a Thunderstrike, fearing that 𝗬𝗚𝗃 would indeed go first, which he has a right idea. Aquatic Whirlwind was the move clicked, most likely enough to kill the 𝗬𝗏𝗃, so had to go for the plague. But I think you're absolutely right. But no, the Tolkon outspeeds the 𝗬𝗏𝗃. So 𝗬𝗚𝗃 does not go down. And man, sometimes speed makes all the difference. We thought it was Shizenix's game to win here, but Lonely Madrid, I think 𝗬𝗚𝗃 should be faster, unless a Crystal Dust. A Crystal Dust could kill 𝗬𝗚𝗃, but you're still having to deal with the Tolkon, so this is going to be looking rough.
Yeah, that was not how I expected the previous turn to go. I thought that just let 𝗬𝗏𝗃 go away, waste the 𝗬𝗚𝗃's turn, get the free plague damage. But no, it didn't end up that way. The Fiery Soul did over half, so Tornado towards this Madrid. It looks like it might have overexerted itself, but that's okay, because Madrid does fall down in defeat. And a very, very nice, clean GG 2-0 for Freizeit.
That is right.
Been using for a while. So that means that it's also, like the Stone Trench Volcrane, the Burrows Scatavolt. There's a lot of really spicy tech here, even Bush on 𝗬𝗏𝗃, that is also protecting Obi and just allowing, sparks to come in on so many of these special attacking Tems. It is pretty terrifying to play against shibamata's current team. Faiman, on the other hand, though, bringing Corrin back, bringing Gario to this bout, definitely some interesting spice here as well, and some pretty good synergies and mechanics that aren't very common, like the Tolkien 𝗬𝗏𝗃 𝗬𝗚𝗃.
Yeah, I actually love both of these Tamers team. They're not going for the heavy aggressive nature as we're used to seeing with 𝗬𝗚𝗃s. These are both nice, well-designed, mid-range looking teams. Both with that, or not both, but with that Nirjasoma Scatavolt there, looking quite nice. And hey, a signature Temtem, just like that target replicator Obi. Well, we don't know if it's target, but based from the past, we have said shibamata is hands down the best target replicator tamer around. So willing to bet it could be a target one there. But as I was about to say, Faiman with the scavenger Corrin there. Not a lot of tamers working with that Corrin. Faiman, one of the only people making it really work and deciding to bring it out today for the series. But all right, shibamata does decide on the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 here.
And Faiman's team is actually a pretty good counter for shibamatas just because of the Corrin and the Gario, giving both of those Earth Tems. You know, Gary is a little bit more of a hard counter for some of the, Volcranes and the like, 𝗬𝗪𝗺 as well. So getting rid of it over Corrin was definitely nice. And the Wolfie pickup from shibamata for the first pick is definitely a counter Corrin pick. Just do everything that you can to try and keep the Earths away from your fires, crystal, and digital electric.
Yeah, so not too bad. We do know OB2 does have a little digital techniques, things like a little plasma beam, things like that turn 2 digi threat. So Mashuk not necessarily too safe, but at least for the opening turns, it can apply that pressure onto the Wolfie. Something like P-Jab into a Noxious Bomb might just be nice enough to set up that Voldaren and do easily over 50% onto the Wolfie. So much damage that maybe just a little uppercut that next turn should be bringing that Wolfie down. That's of course if shibamata wants to leave that Wolfie in there, because he does have some reasonable backup lines. Something like that 𝗬𝗪𝗺 to really pressure out that Voldaren could be coming in. Heck, maybe even a Kinu to buff up Obi. We'll see. But so far so good. 𝗬𝗪𝗺 does come in there, so that Voldaren not feeling too good about that one.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, the Corrin ban as well is so fantastic for shibamata. He's keeping his Tems safe, but Faiman knew it was coming. That was absolutely the expected ban. So it does mean Faiman gets a little bit more of his preferred team into this matchup. No absolute hard counters, but still the makeup that he's comfortable with, that he wanted to bring through, because he knew exactly what was being banned before it even started. So getting in, it is 𝗏𝗏𝗏 coming in last for Faiman. That's definitely a good pickup. I love seeing 𝗏𝗏𝗏s all over the place now.
All right, well, here we go. Game number 1 of this third match here today in our AAL series. Wolfie, OB2 getting things started. Voldaren Mashuk getting things started for the side of Faiman. So let's try to break down what those potential turn 1 plays might just be. Of course, Wolfie just has things like Plague for that opening turn. So Wolfie doesn't really have too much to do unless he wants to trap in something. But okay, he does stay in, so has to eat an uppercut here, or a P-Jab rather.
Yeah, Sparks onto itself is this Obi. Lifeful Sap from Wolfie. That's good target replicator for Obi, keeping it a little bit healthier for the next couple of turns. But that's a lot of damage to take onto Wolfie, and the P-Jab as well means it might not have been worth it. Wolfie can always leave, come back with 100% HP later, but he's always going to have that -1 defense now.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, like we said, that target replicator, so much spice, and you nailed it all pretty much on that pick and ban phase. You said all the Temtems that really work so well with that OB2, and there we go, perfect example. Lifeful Sap gaining 60% on that OB2. That's if his HP does go down throughout this match, but knowing that the uppercut was coming through, 𝗬𝗪𝗺 does come in to try to eat that uppercut and try to pay back. Oh no, the target is going to be disappearing now. So good read for Faiman. Does bring in that Yggdrasil.
Yeah, either way though, Yggdrasil is not incredible against a 𝗬𝗪𝗺. The Electric Storm though, it eats Electric Storms very nicely. Mashuk kind of takes it pretty well also. But this Obi is just looking so scary. It's +1 special attack. It could always click Digi-Threat or Plasma Beam right now. And that might even be the end of Mashuk if it is a high special attack Obi. But the P-Jab, it's getting so much value while it's still on the field. 𝗬𝗪𝗺 all the way down to 34% HP. But yeah, that was enough. Digi-Threat, the big boy digital hits, bringing Mashuk down. Burrow protecting Obi even more, but I don't know if that was necessary due to the Lifeful Sap. I don't think that Obi was going to be the target of anything for the next few turns.
Yeah, I mean, well done for Faiman, recognizing that that wasn't a half full 𝗬𝗪𝗺, so just putting everything onto that 𝗬𝗪𝗺 there, -2 defense, so any little attack will be taking it down. But hey, you got to break through the Burrow. But well done from shibamata. That turn 1 Sparks looking beautiful there, just enough. I think Mashuk almost survived by the smallest of margins, But no, that 50% additional onto that special attacking Digithreat was indeed enough for Mashuk. And man, 𝗵𝗵 looking like a real threat. You know, that same Digithreat that was able to take down a Mashuk is the same Digithreat that's effective into Kinu. It's effective into Barnchi. So man, maybe he had to start working on that 𝗵𝗵 a little bit earlier, because I'm afraid this 𝗵𝗵 might just carry the game for Shibi.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, with the Burrow and regen, 𝗵𝗵 could stand to Sparks itself a few more times. Let the other Tem die. And yeah, that's what we're seeing. Sparks on 𝗵𝗵 +2. This will be the end of Wild Cheese, but that's probably fine. Volcrane is still in the back to go for some heavy fire damage on the Yggdrasil. And really, shibamata just has to waste time here with 𝗬𝗏 and with his other Tem. I think it was Yggdrasil. I don't remember what his 5th Tem was. I can't press X to find out, but Kinu it was. Okay. Yeah, I think in the meantime, just, you know, waste a little bit of time with 𝗬𝗏 and Kinu, allow this 𝗵𝗵 to do what it's gotta do, because as you mentioned, Digithreat is effective onto Kinu, and Electric Storm would be effective onto everything in the back. So a Plague on the Yggdrasil, just trying to get rid of that stamina. Revitalize, it's nice. It's a nice thought for sure, but I don't know how much it's going to accomplish in the long run, as now Yggdrasil is almost out of stamina and Kinu is almost out of health.
Yeah, insane. It looks like this 𝗵𝗵 just sparking up. And, you know, even without any Kinu buffs onto himself, he's looking like quite the raid boss already. Double damage on those special attacking techniques like that Digithreat. So just really popping off with this 𝗵𝗵1. Almost enough to kill that Kinu with one shot. That double screen and just the bulky nature of most Kinus these days did keep the Kinu alive. But I don't know for how much longer. If shibamata is working with something like a nice easy plasma beam, that's easily enough to take it all the way down. But shibamata is running low on stamina, so since he already has that coverage with the evasion, he could go for a rest. Or does he want to go for a Sparks number 3? That might be a little overkill, no?
I would love to see Sparks number 3. I don't think that it should happen unless 𝗵𝗵 has matcha, because you really need to start regaining a little bit of stamina here. You don't want to find yourself out of stamina when Volorend or Barnchi hit the field. You don't want to let Barnchi get more plus special defenses and potentially survive just that much longer against you, because it would do good damage onto both 𝗬𝗏 and Kinu.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if it is, you know, you're so right. We haven't revealed the item just yet on that 𝗵𝗏. So most are mainly working with potentially a double screen of their own, a hack microchip to gain the bamboozle. But that's usually better on source replicator. So I'm not too sure what he's working with on his target replicator 𝗵𝗏. So okay, Plague just to potentially overexert that ninja. So Hypnosis does go on to the 𝗬𝗏, leaving 𝗵𝗵2. Okay, so he does just decide for rest. Let's see if it is a matcha. That would be incredible, 𝗧𝗏𝗺. I don't think it was, since it didn't proc right there.
Yeah, we'd have a lot more stamina left if it was, but either way, that was pretty good. That's still up to 41% now. That means that another Digithreat is free. E-Storm would be possible, and if there is a plasma beam, that would be enough to take down Kinu and force one of the birds to take an E-Storm. But no, Faiman just retreats the Kinu instead, brings Volorend back in, potentially to take some damage. But no, 𝗵𝗵 retreating from battle as well, just wants some more time to regain that stamina. Kinu instead comes in, Protector buff onto 𝗬𝗏, Lifeful Sap onto 𝗬𝗏, and now this 𝗬𝗏 would be very happy to just leave. Regen as it will. It's gotten rid of that -1 defense, so could potentially have a bit of an impact later on in the game. Just some more Plague shenanigans, keep Yggdrasil in the red on stamina, and maybe even get another Lifeful Sap for 𝗵𝗵 towards the end.
Yeah, very true. Little Lifeful Sap, or hey, even a little bush to add that little tick of evasion as well. But yeah, I agree. Now that you have 60% recovery with those Lifeful Saps, there's no cage target chilling on Faiman's board, so it's nice and easy retreat for the 𝗬𝗏. The question is, who does shibamata want to retreat for? So hey, previous plus, press the X so we can take a look. There we go. Thank you, previous plus.
Yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗴 is retreating. 𝗬𝗶𝗊 on its way back in, as really it's not too much in danger from anybody here. 𝗏𝗺𝗁𝗀 coming in as well. That's so good for 𝗬𝗶𝗊. This is the field where it wants to click E-Storm. Hypnosis though from Kiinu onto 𝗏𝗺rend as well, so there's no damage towards this 𝗬𝗶𝗊 this turn. Now Kiinu could probably, if it wants to Stonewall, it can. If it wants to Lifeful Sap and just keep 𝗬𝗶𝗊 very healthy, because 𝗏𝗺rend's asleep. 𝗏𝗺𝗀 does not want to be on this field. Not only will it not hurt anybody, but it will die if it stays. So it's almost forcing Faiman to make some swaps, lose presence, and give a big opportunity here. But no, Tornado, 𝗏𝗺𝗀 stays in, just wants to do some damage on the Kiinu. But I don't know, now that Kiinu's got that buffed special defense, it's not accomplishing too much. One more Sparks is very scary, and a Stonewall into 𝗬𝗶𝗊. This is a raid boss 𝗬𝗶𝗊 if we've ever seen one. +2 defense, +1 special defense, +3 special attack. 𝗏𝗺rend, you're not going to be able to catch up at this point. The E-Storm is coming.
Yeah, coming indeed. 150% increase on those special attacks, and 𝗬𝗶𝗊 is full of stamina. He loves what he's seeing, and you know, 𝗏𝗺𝗀 still staying in. I think he's just ready to go down from this crazy E-Storm. Is this just straight up a double kill? No, it is not. That anaerobic 𝗏𝗺rend sitting tight at that 40%. But yeah, 𝗏𝗺𝗀 going down. It looks like Faiman was just prepared to let 𝗏𝗺𝗀 go even last turn, right? But it looks like shibamata was trying to read the 𝗏𝗺𝗀 swap out, which is why he went for Stonewall into the Sparks. So +3 special attack. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen a 𝗬𝗶𝗊 quite rated up like this right now. So fair play to shibamata. Maybe just enough to win it all on his own. But let's see, still has a whole lot of more Temtems remaining on his side. So here goes the Volcrane. And you know, we did see Mr. Rishi win a tournament with that chamomile Volcrane a couple weeks ago. So hey, Volcrane, this Fire Potato. Yeah, Fire Potato making a bit of a comeback into the meta, at least for shibamata's kind of team here.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for shibamata as well. The free hook on the Kiinu, because there's no real effective damage here. You know, Beta Burst is nice because of the low special defense, but it still didn't accomplish all that much. You know, Feather Gatling did just as much. So Digi threat towards this Kiinu, definitely safe to say that there is no weaker digital technique on that 𝗬𝗶𝗊. There's no Plasma Beam to be found. But now Fire Potato's been out. He can stone whatever that attack is called.
Yeah, Stone Trench.
Give himself the evasion. Yeah, that one. Give himself evasion. Give 𝗬𝗶𝗊 evasion for this turn, and then threaten out Yggdrasil with a Flaming Meteorite next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Flaming Meteorite not online just yet. But hey, a little saving grace, if you will. That Yggdrasil is +1 defense, but not even trying to do any pressure with the 𝗬𝗶𝗊. Goes for that +2 special defense. So man, things are going from bad to worse for Faiman. This 𝗬𝗶𝗊 is impressive. I don't think we've ever seen quite the raid boss 𝗬𝗶𝗊 as shibamata has put on the table here today. So man, insanely impressive. I'm almost willing to bet Faiman has to ban this 𝗬𝗶𝗊 for that game too, because this hands down doing so much value turn after turn for shibamata. So we'll see. I mean, 𝗬𝗶𝗊, not really a Temtem you tend to ban first pick, but maybe in this situation you might have to. But there we go, Flaming Meteorite taking that Yggdrasil below the 40% mark.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage dealt. The Feather Gatling back towards Fire Potato means the Toxic Ink will be enough to confirm the kill after a Toxic Tick. But I don't know, the damage might already be done. 𝗬𝗶𝗊 at this point could use Electric Storm, guaranteed to kill onto 𝗏𝗺rend, do a little bit of damage onto Yggdrasil, and then just Digi threat the following turn for the kill. It's down to 2v2, but this 𝗬𝗶𝗊 is just unbelievable. It still has 3 more turns of regeneration. It's still 100% HP, and 𝗏𝗏𝗀 could just get it all started going again. So it is a concession.
𝗬𝗏𝗊 did so much work, but maybe Faiman has a game plan here for game number 2. Okay, this is step 1, right? A big stone ball potentially going on to 𝗬𝗶𝗊. There's no bamboozle targets that I'm seeing on shibamata, so a big stone ball might just be enough to scare away this 𝗬𝗶𝗊, unless shibamata wants to come out and still pick it up because it did so much against the Mashuk, the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the Kinu. So we'll see. And oh, you know what? You do pick up a Karin on that first pickup, but now shibamata eyeing the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. Aquatic Whirlwind just might be enough special attacking prowess to take it down in a single swap, not letting that stone ball even go off. So man, what do you do against this? Yeah, I was just thinking that 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 OB2, what in the world do you do against that?
Truthfully, I think you just have to pick someone who can hurt 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 here. There is a lot that Faiman could swap this Corrin into, being the Voloran, being the Mashuk, even Yggdrasil, that don't mind that water damage one bit. So as long as the secondary Tem next to Corrin on Faiman's side is able to do damage to 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, it doesn't look like any of these Tems would be able to bring it down in a single turn, but definitely over 50% in one turn. You know, just threaten out this 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 nice and early, get rid of the threat to Corrin, and then it's pretty much free. The only effective damage other than this 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 that shibamata has for Corrin would be the hook kick from 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, very true. So Faiman could retreat that scavenger Karin to try to absorb that Aquatic Whirlwind. But man, now it's got a Volt on the board. Maybe shibamata wants to read that Karin swapping out and redirect all that punishment onto the Scotavolt, because we did see last game it wasn't a half full, so it doesn't have that +1 special defense. So man, Aquatic Whirlwind might just bring it down in one swoop as well. But I don't know, Scotavolt a little bit more tankier than most Temps, so probably could survive. But you know, with that read, if Faiman just wants to play really risky there, just keep in the Karin and just go for it. Just send it. Stone Ball onto OB2, predicting 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to go onto the Scotavolt instead. That might just have to be the risky play to really deal with that OB2 nice and early. But I don't know. That could just be a little bit too risky, honestly.
I think it might be okay because, you know, a lot of the time, Scotavolt is usually built to survive that kind of onslaught from an 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. It is common enough now that, you know, surviving and getting the Thunderstrike off is kind of required. I do like the Mashuk pickup, though. That's definitely still effective damage into Volcrane. It's a pretty good counter versus 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And with the P-Jabs, with the tenderness, you know, can still get a lot done against pretty much any of the physical Tems on shibamata's side. The Volorant as well, there's some good swap-ins now. All three of these toxic Tems, any of them could come in to take any potential 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Aquatic Whirlwind. It's really up in the air now as to what shibamata wants to do. If shibamata protects this 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Faiman makes too big of a swap predicting something along those lines, that might be a really big deficit very early on.
Yeah, let's take a look. So okay, wait a second. It is a oh no, we're spectating Faiman. I was so confused for a hot minute there. So Scotavolt is half full on Faiman's side. So okay, trying to put some pressure back on the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in case it does want to stay in to target down the Karin, because one Thunderstrike at +1 special attack most likely will be bringing it all the way down. Do both Tamers want to play it safe? Just swap out the Karin, swap out the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, or is one Tamer holding their ground and just throwing out the attack? It might be risky on both sides, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like shibamata is a little bit less of the high aggro style. Faiman, we've seen on both sides of the table, he's had really aggressive fire teams, he's had the nature stall team, so it's kind of hard to predict what either of these players are going to do. The Kinu swap in is definitely a nice start for 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, as Sparks on Ovi just staying in, going for that plus special attack, but Thunderstrike onto this Ovi is going to be neutral damage. And Corrin, poor Corrin, going for this stone ball. This Ovi 72% down to 18%. It would be different if Obi could get evasion off this turn, but it just can't. The most that can happen is life will sap, and if Obi wants to stay in for that kind of help, it will be going down.
Yeah, insane. Faiman, beautiful play, just holding his fort. shibamata flinching, if you will. So 𝗬𝗏𝗃 maybe had a confirmed kill on the Karin, maybe has some big damage on 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁, but fearing that +1 special attack, Thunder Strike does retreat for the Kinu. And you know, fair enough. It actually might have just saved that 𝗬𝗏𝗃's life because the +1 special defense and defense, I think without that protector buff that Kinu just provided, 𝗬𝗏𝗃 would have been out of there looking at the amount of damage it just took. But okay, 𝗬𝗏𝗃 does come out predicting the same barrage to come in. But all right, Hypnosis won't be allowing that second stone ball to connect.
Yeah, so that does protect 𝗬𝗏𝗴 a little bit more, but the burrow from 𝗧𝗵𝗺, so there was no damage coming anyway. It's hard to see 𝗬𝗏𝗃 coming back into this game now. It's a little bit depressing, even though it has so much support on shibamata's side. It could get the Lifeful Saps going again. It could get burrow from Wild Cheese. It could be protected and find its way back up. It might just be asking too much. You know, predicting that turn where shibamata would have the opportunity to do so, you know, 1 to 2 turns in advance even, you know, manipulating Faiman's moves so that he can make it happen might be asking too much. So it might be really up to 𝗬𝗏𝗴 and Wild Cheese to do the damage onto most of Faiman's Tems. This is looking pretty difficult now. Faiman with a really nice start onto this game. The plus attack though didn't want to wake up core and didn't or wouldn't have given the +1 attack if it had attacked 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 with that evasion. So you just kick your Kinu a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah, a little hook kick on that Kinu, and hey, that was a brilliant play for shibamata. On the outside looking in, it didn't look like too crazy, but yeah, just like you said, 𝗨𝗪𝗀, didn't want to wake up the Karin with that hook to wake it up being 3 prio, and didn't want to pop the bamboozle and not giving yourself that +1 attack. So hey, just trying to get a little bit +1 attack. Does in fact a little tickle on the Kinu, not any bit of damage, but you do get 50% increase on your attacks. So well worth. shibamata, really nice play there on turn 3. But he still has to deal with this bamboozle. But oh, a beta burst into a stone trench. 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 holding on for his dear life.
Yeah, just barely alive, long enough for the Thunder Strike to target down this Kinu. And those poor eyes, they turned into those stereotypical anime dead eyes as Kinu falls victim. The first Tem to go down in this turn. That's pretty surprising that 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 was able to survive a +1 stone trench. That is a very, very bulky beetle indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. That +1 defense doing wonders for that half-full 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁. And you know, shibamata probably thought that was gonna kill. My money would definitely be betting that shibamata thought that +1 attack would have been more than enough. But you're right, does hold on. But for how much longer? Now with 𝗬𝗏𝗃 on the board, being hands down the fastest Temtem on that current board. You know, if shibamata is running something like Tsunami, that might not be the best, or might not be the worst sign to play. You cover the 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 if it wants to go for a big Thunder Strike, and you do some good damage onto the Karn if it wants to stay in to try to stoneball that Volcrane. But more reasonable, I think Faiman just might have to double swap into that toxic core he has looming in the background, right? They eat up that Aquatic Whirlwind very, very well. And then things like Ninja Soul with those allergic spread could start adding up. You just have to be a little bit careful of that big flaming meteorite that might just be coming out the following turn, if not this turn, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it's if it is used, it's targeting the right spot. The Wrath comes through on Volibear and Mushuk. It's not going to deal very much damage at all. But the +1 special attack is nice for any future Aquatic Whirlwinds onto Quarren. Matcha Rest on 𝗬𝗏𝗃, back up to full stamina. With the ability to Stone Trench again, it wouldn't be great damage, but it would give evasion. Potentially for an Obi swap. Try to get yourself back in threat. Now both of these Tems with the Digi threat or the Electric Storm might be a play for shibamata.
Yeah, we'll see. He might have the same idea. And yes, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗧, you're nailing it perfectly here. 𝗬𝗵2 does come out. The question is, does Stone Trench go first? It looks like 𝗬𝗪 does indeed go first, so gets that P-Jab. But Stone Trench is the second Temtem to move, so does apply it on that target replicator. So 𝗬𝗪𝗀, he went for the plume though, so popping both bamboozles, not too bad. And now without that Stone Trench online, he no longer can protect that 𝗬𝗵2. So, oh man, does he have to swap out? Because, you know, Digi-Thread is a one prio technique. So 𝗬𝗵2, if he wants to go for that big Digi-Thread that took down the 𝗬𝗪 in that opening turn, or not the opening turn, but in game number 1, he has to try to survive a potential double up staring him down. I think, honestly, a simple Waste Waters, even though it's half effective, should be enough. Or maybe even an uppercut. I'm a little bit scared that that +1 defense doesn't let the uppercut kill. So maybe you just have to throw out that wastewater. Let's see what shibamata has in mind. Oh, maybe protecting from that double up.
Yeah, good friend might just be enough. Uppercut comes through. It doesn't kill 𝗬𝗵. Good friend forces the Nox Bomb onto Wild Cheese. And that lets 𝗬𝗵 do whatever it pleases. Likely going to be the Digi-Thread onto this 𝗬𝗪. And it brings it all the way down. Very, very speedy. Avoiding parrier's special attack. 𝗬𝗵, you are insane. You're so low on HP though, and there's no more ways for shibamata to regenerate this 𝗬𝗵's HP. If it doesn't outspeed 𝗬𝗪end with a Electric Storm this turn, then that's just not possible anymore. This Faiman's actually in a pretty good spot, I think, even though he just lost 𝗬𝗪. It means that Corrin is pressuring out Wild Cheese, and there aren't really many swaps here. You know, it would force both 𝗬𝗪 and 𝗬𝗪ane to come in, which means that they're both going to be taking a lot of damage, and it's just up to Faiman to predict the right spot to attack with both of those techniques. And that might even be GG for Faiman.
Yeah, absolutely. But fearing that Electric Storm was going to go first, and I think it would have gone first. So it does swap into the Yggdrasil there, and okay, the E-Storm does come out. So beautifully read for Faiman, absorbing that damage beautifully. 86%, 82, and what? The toughen plus the defense, is it enough? And oh my goodness, 3.6%. It does survive, and man, I'm impressed that the 𝗬𝗪𝗺 got off a toughen. But honestly, I guess it did survive, but maybe just a big fire tornado onto that Vola spot could have been a bit better. But I don't know, I guess it survived, able to maybe absorb some damage down the road, but that is big. I like what you said though, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗧. Faiman does look like he's a bit ahead. I mean, if we look at the HP, 𝗬𝗵2 so low, Wild Cheese is so low. It's virtually just 2 Temtems versus the remaining 4 of Faiman. So he does have the upper hand. So let's see how shibamata wants to maneuver these last couple Temtems he has.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of unfortunate if the fire tornado had gone through. It would have hit Yggdrasil. It would have been nice damage, but it might not have been enough. I don't know. The unfortunate part is that 𝗬𝗪𝗺's only value in life came from its good friend trait. Only one time. And that didn't really lead to much anyway, unfortunately. So a couple of really good decisions from Faiman, capitalizing on just the awareness of what shibamata was trying to do, has kind of forced shibamata into the corner. I think the toughen was out of necessity, just hoping to hold on. But because of Goring and because of Corrin's faster speeds, it just didn't matter. So a few more swaps coming through. Not too much accomplished yet. 𝗬𝗵 back on the field. Corrin retreating for 𝗬𝗪𝗺. In front of a 𝗬𝗪ane is a little bit suspicious, but maybe just sacrificing the 𝗬𝗪𝗺. It is a flaming meteorite, though. It's targeting Yggdrasil from 86% down to 13. The Toxic Ink onto 𝗬𝗵 will be enough to bring it down in absolute. But now HP is pretty low on Faiman's side as well, and a Stone Trench would go first right now, would definitely be killing the 𝗬𝗪𝗺. Combined with any damage from 𝗬𝗪, even the heavy resistance on Yggdrasil has got to fall down to that, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Without that Kinu buff, 𝗬𝗪𝗀 still holding on in that against that +1 attack flaming meteor. So good bulk on that 𝗬𝗪𝗀, but okay, not thinking to stay around for too much longer. Instead, brings out the Volarin to potentially eat that aquatic whirlwind, but no, he's gonna be playing it safe here. So preserving the AWW and just getting the clean kill onto 𝗧𝗵𝗆𝗺 with that Wrath. So not too bad. Let's see what 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 does. Maybe he could get off another stone trench just to keep himself protected for the next turn. And yes, he does do exactly that.
Yeah, that's definitely nice if you know, Corrin probably isn't, yeah, probably isn't coming out onto this field. So it is the 𝗬𝗪𝗀 keeping Volcrane alive and healthy for a little bit longer. Means that, you know, 𝗬𝗪𝗀 goes down, potentially another hit onto Volaren's, and 𝗬𝗪𝗀 will, hopefully for shibamata, survive long enough to see that +2 special attack aquatic whirlwind hit Corrin.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Hook, not enough to do the deed, but a Tsunami at +2 special defense just might be enough. 𝗬𝗪𝗀 1/4 damage, 7.7 does go down. And you know, it goes down without deploying that toxic ink. So 𝗬𝗪𝗀 stays alive. And the only Temtem in that back line was the Corrin. And oh, to make matters worse, maybe it wouldn't have even gone down because of the reactive vial 𝗬𝗪𝗀. Man, shibamata always bringing out the spice. But you know, a +2 special attack and you know, really good TV training for shibamata. Did not overexert after the Wrath, after the Tsunami. It looked like it was perfect stamina. So now if he just wants to Hail Mary, as you're seeing here, yes, aquatic whirlwind, Corrin goes down. And it just might be a 1v1. This is getting down to the wire. Quite the nail biter indeed. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 versus the Volarin. I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏... Wait, Faiman was looking so good. The shibamata just bring things back around.
I definitely think that he did. He takes a rest just in case. But now Matcha gives him so much stamina. That means that he can use a flaming meteorite right now. Or just goes for a stone trench. Oh no. Almost just embarrassing this Volaran now. Giving itself evasion, avoiding taking any damage, ruining Volaran's stamina, making it kill itself to get this HKS off. And it's just not enough.
Yeah, absolutely mad stuff coming out from shibamata's corner. Well deserved. GGGG. shibamata with predictions in. We got Holy versus Luh Uzi. And man, I'm already liking what I'm seeing. This is definitely a slightly different teams as we've been used to seeing. I mean, first thing that popped out from Holy's side is the Nature Water Course. We haven't seen it all that much recently. But you know, Magia won like 4 to 5 tournaments with that Temtem. So let's see how Holy wants to make it work here today.
Yeah, the Nature 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 double Synergy Master Water Cutting Lily is so scary onto so many Tems. Even something like a Tolkien is going to take a beating from just sheer high damage numbers there. But either way, it is a Tolkien lead from Holysnoopy, not going for the Mimit right away. Luh Uzi though, it depends on what Uzi wants to bring to the table now. If Mimit is still going to be, or I'm sorry, if Koish is still going to be strong, then absolutely, you know, bring the Koish, swap in a Mimit, or swap in an 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏, and just take the damage while the damage is here. As quite a bit of Uzi's team, it looks like it's pretty speedy. It looks like there's you know, the Mashuk, the Tolkien, Gyalis, 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏, Wolfie, a good opportunity to do some damage if you've got high priority on turn 1. With the Volorend and the 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏 though, that does really scare away the Koish and both of the water Tems on Holysnoopy's side, because doubling up on 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is pretty scary as well. But no, Snoopy still decides to bring this Nature Koish through, even with its ×4 weakness to a Nox Bomb.
Yeah, and you know, it's either ×4 weakness to the Toxic of Volaran, or it's ×4 weakness to the water of 𝗬𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏. So does Luh Uzi know? This is where the mind games really come into play, because man, what trait is it? I mean, basing off that, those water Temtems that Holy has on the squad, is very reasonable to think that it is Synergy Master. But the fact that he does pick it up in front of the Volaran just makes you question slightly if it is the iridescence, just to really throw a loop all against your opponent. Because, you know, keeping things straightforward, 𝗧𝗏𝗺 just wants to gun down that token spot, and just if it wants to stay in, a WCL with the potential synergy from a water Temtem swapping in there is more than enough to take 𝗧𝗏𝗺 out in that single swing. So a couple decisions for these tamers to make nice and early, but there we go, a 𝗵𝗵 for the double nature 𝗂𝗍. Oh man, this is gonna be insane.
Actually, the double synergy master is just so scary, especially if one of them is holding war drum as well. It's the end of days for 𝗧𝗏𝗺. There is no way that it would survive that. We saw earlier today the plagues were doing like 80%, so double synergy master water cutting lily 285% maybe.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of damage. Double synergy master with war drum, yeah, like 60+% additional damage on your moves. Almost enough to like one shot everything else that isn't resistant, right? 𝗬𝗚𝗎 can't really take that attack too well. A 𝗬𝗵𝗆 can't really take that too well, so that's something Luh Uzi has to be cautious of. But he does have some good counters. Those toxic Temtems, if it is a synergy master, just one wastewater brings it all the way down. One noxious bomb should be enough to bring it down. So that's a question for these guys to answer for us nice and early. And okay, it looks like early is right now. We have our 4th match of the night in our AAL series. Holysnoopy which was the champion in his own qualifier, and then Luh Uzi, of course, was top 4 in that same tournament. Let's see who's gonna be taking it here for the very first week of our league.
The nice heater start, so Holysnoopy not switching things up for Pyromaniac like so many others have with the introduction of Fiery Soul. Keeping the heater, keeping the burn on turn 1 onto these onto the Tems on Uzi's side. It definitely is still very strong, as it does reduce the attack that these Tems can throw out, potentially keeping 𝗂𝗍𝗄 alive. You know, especially if it is the 𝗵𝗵 swap and these are synergy master, then 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗺 would not be able to accomplish anything whatsoever to this field. So really, it would just be on that Nox Bomb with the reduced damage from burn, and that would give Holysnoopy quite a bit of an advantage, doing a lot of damage. Even if the 𝗏𝗍𝗄 were to swap in, really, we'd probably still see 40 to 50%. Oh no, I'm sorry, it'd only be from one, so maybe 25% from the water cutting lily double synergy master.
Yeah, we'll see. You're thinking it's gonna be a potential 𝗬𝗏𝗺/𝗵𝗵 coming into that token spot. Is that what you're saying?
It would definitely make sense due to the burn. I don't think that 𝗂𝗍𝗄 is at risk of dying, unless it's like a very, very squishy 𝗂𝗍𝗄, which is definitely possible. But I think it would take a double in from the 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗺, which would be sacrificial. So 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗺 does retreat for this 𝗬𝗵𝗆 instead, who will still take some pretty big damage from 𝗬𝗂𝗄, as it is still the earth typing. It is neutral damage with pretty low physical defense. But no, Tolkien decides to stay in, go for the wind burst, hit Django down to 35%, and the burn is still enough. 𝗂𝗀𝗃 killing 𝗂𝗍𝗄 just like that on turn 1. No water cutting lily with synergy to be had this game.
Yeah, fantastic turn. A fantastic opening turn for the side of Luh Uzi. Reading that 𝗂𝗍𝗄 staying in to try to get that greed kill on the 𝗧𝗏𝗺. I mean, in hindsight, look a little bit greedy, but you know, that is always a little 2020 to see. Voldaren, despite having that heater, as you mentioned before, is still more than enough. 4x damage, just a bit too much. And 𝗂𝗍𝗄 going down a single swing. So now that 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗺 only has to fear the Acronox, the other Temtems is going to have a great time against, not so much the 𝗂𝗏𝗄, but definitely against that Token, and at least has a little blizzard for the Acronox. So that big enemy number 1, which was that water nature 𝗂𝗍𝗄, is down. So that could be a little good swing for the side of Luh Uzi. Of course, it's just turn number 2, so everything isn't sated just yet. But okay, we did see that wind burst do some good damage on the 𝗬𝗵𝗆. I'm wondering if Tornado will be enough. It does have a hand fan on it, so I'm willing to bet it is enough. And there's not really anything in the back line that will like to eat that very well. So at least that might just be a confirmed kill or just big damage for Holy's side.
Tornado comes through. Django from only 34% HP. It is enough. The hand fan, in fact, killing this 𝗬𝗵𝗶. Sting going into the Volarend instead is not going to accomplish anything at all, and instead just eats the Feather Gatling for about 40%. It is the coat holder, though, on Snoopy's side, so a little bit reduced damage compared to what it would have been otherwise. I think as much as it is a very positive for Snoopy to kill 𝗬𝗵𝗶, it's a little bit of a risk, because now 𝗬𝗚𝗏𝗏 could theoretically come back in to pressure out Tolkien, and Tolkien is the only Tem that would kill this Volarend. Unless a Mimit were to turn into 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 right now, that would be probably the only other way around it, as pretty much every other Tem in this game dies to Volarend.
Yeah, very true. That wouldn't be too bad, trying to think ahead a couple of turns. And as you said, special defense, anaerobic Volarend, such a headache to deal with without any physical damage. So maybe trying to, as we said, think ahead to try to get that 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 there for that crystal bite potential on the secondary turn. However, that does leave your Tolkien not able to get off a big fiery soul. But okay, expecting maybe that double gash Feather Gatling onto the Acronox spot, does decide to bring in 𝗂𝗏𝗏. So now AWW is online, so that's something Uzi has to be wary of. But okay, the big fire tornado bringing it down to the red HP. But look at that mirroring value, almost 50% HP out the door.
Was a lot of damage done back to this Tolkien, who hasn't actually been hit despite how it looks. I think at this point, with Tolkien low stamina, low-ish HP, Hedwig is just looking demonic. Definitely Holysnoopy needs to figure something out just to try and stand a chance here, because even if he's able to kill every other Tem on Uzi's side, the Volarend would destroy the rest of his team. So he does go for that Mimit play, picking up the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃, Aquatic Whirlwind from 𝗂𝗏𝗏,
Wow.
targeting 𝗬𝗏𝗃, bringing 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 down, keeping Mimit just a little bit safer for now, and the chances are still here. Snoopy has the parts that he needs now to deal with Hedwig, but 𝗂𝗏𝗏 pretty low on HP.
And wow, I'm actually impressed that 𝗂𝗏𝗏 held on at definitely under that 50%. I was confident that that Noxious Bomb would kill, but it looks like the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗃 followed up by a bit bulkier 𝗂𝗏𝗏. I feel like most 𝗂𝗏𝗏s, even with the 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗃, would have still been knocked out. Unless that Volarend doesn't really pack too much of a punch. It was a slight illusion because that 4x damage on that Nature Coish made it seem that Volarend was packing quite the punch, but maybe doesn't have as much as TAC-TVs as I would have thought, because 𝗂𝗏𝗏 holding on there quite nice, but it doesn't really accomplish too much against the current board that Little Uzi has left. So he could just choose to let it go. What can he do before letting it go is the question. J-Dragon likes to play a little cooperation, but no, it seems like we're gonna get the Tolkien back here to get everything online, including those tornadoes.
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of risk to that tenderness onto this Mimit, so it's very nice the Crystal Bite came out first. The Toxic Plume going to poison both of them, as this is not the resistant trait, instead is mirroring. So a nice little bit of damage on the Hedwig in return, but overall the poison was a bit more of an impact. Now Tolkien can pressure out this Mashuk. It's kind of up to Uzi as to what he wants to save, because I think Hedwig is in danger. You know, a Crystal Bite can't come out again, but a Hook Kick certainly could. At -1 defense, Hedwig might be able to hold on, but it's such low stamina, there would be nothing stopping his Sharp Stabs from coming through next turn and bringing Volarend down. So it might be better off saving this Mashuk. Mashuk can definitely fight Acronox and 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗃. It's a pretty good counter for this 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 Mimit. You know, as long as 𝗬𝗚𝗏𝗏𝗃 is able to bring Tolkien down, I think Mashuk could win it for Uzi.
Yeah, I think so as well. But you know, I don't think a single tornado takes that Mashuk all the way down. And you know, that's the only pressure that Little Uzi currently has because of that overexertion on the Volarend. So man, I'm wondering if Little Uzi wants to play a bit riskier, try to take that tornado and then kill the Tolkon right here, right now with the wastewater potentially. But I mean, swapping into Oshiara quite nice as well. But I could almost see that aggressive play and just save your Oshiara in the back line and try to deal with the Mimic. But I know you need the Mashuk for the Acronox, right? So yeah, a little bit risky, but I could almost see the Mashuk staying in. Let's see if Little Uzi wants to pull that off. But instead, it will be the Valoran trying to read a Sharp Stab, as you mentioned, into that spot.
Yeah, the hook kick does 45% wind burst. Does more than a half to this Mashuk, the Viv. Mimit taking quite a bit of damage as well from a wastewater down just above 50%. This is a decent spot. I think Uzi may have made the right choice. The scary part here is the tornado. If by any chance this Oshiara is slow and Tolkien is fast, but I don't think that that's got to be possible, right? Aquatic Whirlwind has to bring Tolkien down here, kind of forcing the swap out of Snoopy. Probably also bringing Mimit very, very close to its end.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if Little Uzi wants to read Holy, swapping out the Tolkon in the back line, he could just double the 𝗬𝗪𝗧 and then neglecting Holy a clean answer into that Hedwig in the back line. So I could also potentially see that line of play. But man, this is where those mind games come into effect. Does Tolkon just want to stay in for that big tornado, confirm the kill on Mashuk? Or does Little Uzi just keep things straightforward? It looks like Holy can play a bit safer, so does want to eat that Aquatic Whirlwind with the Acronox. Let's see. Sharp Stab not ready to kill the Oshiara just yet. Where is this Aquatic Whirlwind going though is the question. And okay, straightforward into that Tolkon spot.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe we would see Tsunami instead of Aquatic Whirlwind just to kind of hedge bets a little bit. Because Tolkien is pretty injured, so it would have been enough for a Tsunami to take that down. It would have definitely put Mashuk at risk of a tornado outspeeding with the priority. But I think Uzi could have always swapped in to try to negate that a little bit. But either way, the Acronox takes the Aquatic Whirlwind pretty well. That means that there's no more priority for either the Mimit 𝗬𝗪𝗧, as it just used the Sharp Stabs, or this Oshiara. So Sting is definitely pretty scary. But a hook kick goes before anybody else, brings this Oshiara down. And now Tolkien is feeling pretty safe and secure. The uppercut will bring Acronox to its knees, but that means Tolkien just gets the free swap in where it doesn't have to worry about taking damage.
Yeah, and man, I'm wondering what the heck did the Oshiara click there, because he still had Aquatic Whirlwind online, but the hook kick outspeeding the 𝗬𝗪𝗧 is very interesting to see. You know, he could have just gone for the 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗺's Wrath, right? Maybe trying to get a bit greedy there for the potential kill on the 𝗬𝗪𝗧 and just some big damage on Acronox, just in case the uppercut didn't kill. But I'm impressed that 𝗬𝗪𝗧 was able to outspeed an Oshiara, especially if they clicked the Aquatic Whirlwind. Oh, he had just used it against Acronox. Okay, forgive me, guys. Forgive me. Of course, he used it. We saw the Book Lungs Acronox come in to eat it. So, of course, it wasn't online. So, yeah, 𝗬𝗪𝗧 being the same speed as Oshiara does end up outspeeding it. So, that was actually a big swing of events. And as you mentioned, now Tolkon is 100% unchecked, which means Tornado will be getting the confirmed kill on the Mashuk. And maybe Mimit evolving into the Hedwig Valoran might be the key to Holy success here.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a nice play towards the end of things. The Feather Gatling onto 𝗂𝗏 brings it down. That just means Tolkien is allowed to survive a little bit longer, get a very free Fiery Soul, or even Fire Tornado, as it definitely goes first. I'm just not sure if the holds are still there, as we did see the Fire Tornado towards Uzi's 𝗬𝗪𝗧 earlier. And it hasn't been too many turns on the field since then, so I'm not entirely sure. If it is available, even at the +3 special defense, that would be quite a lot of damage. Combine that with a Feather Gatling might just be enough. Yeah, the Fiery Soul plus the Feather Gatling. It's an overexertion on Mimit, but it is enough. Hedwig goes down.
Wow.
And first game goes to Holysnoopy.
Yeah, insanely close game for both of these tamers, but as you said, Holysnoopy will be taking the first game of this fourth match tonight.
If he
Congrats.
was able to avoid uh, the 𝗬𝗫𝗃 Mimit turn in, it definitely would have been GG's for Uzi. So it was really just a fantastic opportunistic play on Snoopy's side that saved him. Now, I wonder if things will go differently in the early stages and in the pick bans, as we did see, even with a burn, a Nox Bomb just obliterated that 𝗬𝗽𝗍. It is definitely speedy and attacky and not bulky. So maybe a different play here for Snoopy to try and accomplish something else early game. Although losing the Tolkien is a pretty big hit, as that was a lot of the damage onto 𝗬𝗃, 𝗬𝗫𝗃, and 𝗬𝗵𝗵.
Yeah, you could almost say that that Tokon on the side of Holy was the one Temtem that did the most amount of damage throughout that entire match. So really, really good ban. Luh Uzi does pick up that Volerant because it was almost the winning Temtem. And with the lack of physical, Volerant should be good to go. And I say lack of physical, but now that the Tokon gets banned, 𝗬𝗫𝗃 is free to come in. If he doesn't pick it up right now, Luh Uzi might be targeting it down. So, you know, might be forcing that 𝗬𝗫𝗃. But, oh, speaking of physical, of course, the Volerant does come in and make that the double bird. And, oh, man, how are you dealing with this? I've actually never seen a double Volerant opener like this.
I wonder if Snoopy's Vola has Doppel, because we didn't see Snoopy's Vola in game 1, right? So it's possible this could just be a lot of damage right away onto Uzi's Vola and disregard the problem that he had previously.
Yeah, very true. I mean, did we see the item on that on the Mimit? I can't recall. Because I would imagine most play that Doppel on the Mimit. Either way, that's still a Volerant staring down that Volerant. So, you know, it was the most headache Temtem for Holy. He's trying to get it out of the way nice and early. Might even get it on turn 1 if it is a doppelganger. And if these guys are packing a big, big physical punch. But we'll see. If it doesn't go down on turn 1, if Luh Uzi wants to stay in on turn 2, most likely will go down. But we got to see here, Luh Uzi's Tokon did get the ban in game 1. So we don't know if that beautiful Luma Tokon is going to be a heater or a pyromaniac. I'm assuming it's going to be a heater, just to try to mitigate some damage on that opening turn.
Heater would definitely be nice, but I think Pyromaniac still would be just as nice doing damage onto the Mimit, as, you know, it's usually not built with any bulk at all. Instead, just a lot of speed and a lot of either attack or special attack or split somewhere in the middle. So Pyromaniac potentially enough of an impact above and beyond that it could kill Mimit on turn 1. You know, double in, do the damage, pray.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, I like what you said. Pyromaniac could just equally be as good just for the big, big fire tornadoes, fiery souls. Yeah, we'll see. But, oh, man, you know, these guys' teams got me feeling some type of way. 𝗬𝗫𝗃 Kinu getting picked up. Going back to the Fantastic Four meta. But all right, guys, we are hopping into that game number 2 of this series. Holysnoopy, game point. 1 win away to close out week 1 in his own way. Luh Uzi not letting that happen so easily. But okay, it was a heater indeed. But man, this is a scary board if I do say so. Even with that heater, a double feather Gatling staring down that Volerant is not something you want to eat. I feel like it will still do well over 50%. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, potentially even more than the 50%. That's... it does look like the Mimit was holding on to Doppel at the end of last game when it had attacked 𝗏𝗏𝗃. So potentially doing the same thing here, doing a crazy amount of damage, as everybody does say in Feather Gatling onto 𝗏𝗏𝗃, down to 67%. And now this other, the real Volerant, is probably going to do the same thing, and we see that it's a Robic. Are you kidding me? That is not something that we have seen every day. So plus speed. It means that this special attack of Bandito is going to do a little bit more damage. But I don't know. Volerant is still looking okay. And now guaranteed to be faster than 𝗏𝗏𝗃. It doesn't do 50% though from the double up. So something else would have to happen here, potentially a turn 2 HKS, just like the good old days.
Yeah, like the good old days indeed. And you know, it didn't do 50% because of those tick of embers, right? So without those, easily a back-to-back feather gatling should be enough to kill. But now, you know, those birds on Holy side are 25% faster, so they should be faster than the opposing Volirin. However, are they faster than a 50% increase on the Tolkon? 3 priority plays are on deck for Luh Uzi's Temtem. And, you know, on paper, it is faster than 25%. So a big tornado going into either of these birds, I mean, obviously into that normal Volirin would confirm the kill. But, you know, special -1 special defense does not feel too good. So even a tornado on the Mimit trying to read the Volirin swapping out, it's still a big, you know, a double up onto the Mimit. Tornado Feather Gatling just might take it all the way down. But okay, Holy wants to play things safe, trying to read a tornado coming in there, trying to eat it with the Oshiyara.
Yeah, but Uzi retreating Hedwig for this Kinu as well, so give a nice little buff to the very bright bird. HKS from Mimit outspeeds anything from Bandito this turn, but Kinu with that really high special defense just doesn't care. Windburst into Oshiyara does some good damage, but now this Mimit, if it were to turn into anything else, I don't know if that'll work out in its advantage. Not having the -2 special defense, that might not work for anybody other than a Volirin.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe if he copies the Gyalis or something, just having that extra speed for those crystal bites being 3 priority right there could be kind of nice. But yeah, kind of putting a damper. I think he just had all his bets on taking care of that Volirin nice and early, but now it's nowhere to be found. And this Tolkon looking quite threatening against the back line. Of course, not against the current lineup. This Oshiyara with the big aquatic whirlwind, does it still kill is the question. Tolkon has +1 special defense. I know Oshiyara just packs such a punch. I mean, the biggest punch you can in terms of special attack. So yeah, Tolkon not even gonna risk it. Instead, trying to eat that AWW with this Volirin here.
Yeah, definitely a better choice. The Aquatic Whirlwind comes through. Volirin from 50% down to 31, so it eats it pretty healthily. And with that Revitalize, it is in fact even healthier. So now definitely both of these Tems are at risk of the real Gyalis, as Kinu probably goes down to a Crystal Bite, and Hedwig, as we saw from the Mimit's Crystal Bite, is going to take quite a lot of damage. This is a pretty good spot for Snoopy now, I think. If he's able to accomplish what he wants with Gyalis, just don't Crystal Bite a Wolfie swap in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, so that's for Luh Uzi to decide. Where does he want to put this Wolfie? I mean, he has good damage onto both. Honestly, he can get the Kinu kill if it wants to stay in, but Kinu doesn't really have too much to do, so it's kind of obvious for that one to swap out. At the same point, Volirin doesn't want to eat a Crystal Bite as well. Holy already had a tough time dealing with Luh Uzi's Volirin in game number 1, so he probably wants to take it out as early as possible, so it could be reasonable to try to swap in Wolfie for Volirin. Let's see where Luh Uzi's head is at for this turn. So, oh, he copies the same Temtem, so we're able to stay the Volirin. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that works out really well. That means the Doppel's in play again, and it will outspeed the Volirin. Although now Gyalis on the other side, it takes a hook kick. That is some decent damage still with the neutral. The Nox Bomb on the Mimit just doesn't do anything. It's physical, so it doesn't take advantage of the -2 special defense. It's toxic against a toxic. And it just doesn't pack the punch that Uzi needs it to right now. This is a pretty good board state for Snoopy. I think it kind of depends on who's faster here between the Gyalises. Although this mimetized Volirin probably survives whatever the real Gyalis has to throw at it right now. So I think Hedwig is in danger once more.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. A Feather Gatling with that +2 speed, a 50% increase on that speed, so easily does go first. followed by even a simple sharp stab should be enough. Feather Gatling with the Doppelganger's Bruges, 50% additional damage on your evolutionary line like your Volarin, plus a little sharp stab should be more than enough. But you know, does Holy want to read this Volarin swapping out to something like a Kinu or a 𝗬𝗵𝗸 in that back line? And no, everything stays in, so Feather Gatling, look at that damage down to 12.1. Is a sharp stab enough, or does it keep it simple and preserve more stamina? Oh, the double gash. Beautifully calculated for Holy there.
Yeah, and most importantly, we see that 𝗬𝗪𝗧 is faster than Lady 𝗬𝗪𝗧, so Crystal Bites are definitely a threat towards Lady 𝗬𝗪𝗧 in following turns, as that was just a double gash. There's a lot of stamina left, and there's a lot of holds available, although Bandito has something to say about that. Are you sure, 𝗬𝗪𝗧, that you want to stay in against this Bandito? You certainly will do a lot of damage with your mirroring, but you'll take even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's at 100%, so it has some damage to go. But yeah, I like this play here from Luh Uzi. It pressures out both of these Temtems on the Holy side, so just a simple wind burst should be more than enough. Honestly, a little sharp stab, probably a faster move to take care of it. But you know, I think Holy is just going to be sacrificing this Mimic right here, right now. +3 speed. What is that? I think it's 75%. And you know, man, those HKSs aren't the same. They're just not the same. So, you know, usually an HKS onto the 𝗬𝗪𝗧 could do maybe like 40-50% at +3 speed. I think we're looking at like 20% or something, even like 20 to 30%, if that. So yeah, I mean, maybe just going out on his own terms of the HKS might just be the best way to go. Do you keep 𝗬𝗪𝗧 here is the question. Do you just want to try to confirm the kill on 𝗬𝗪𝗧, or do you swap out fearing the fiery soul coming in from this Bandito?
Ah, man, yeah, it's pretty tough. It does go for the HKS towards 𝗬𝗪𝗧 from 69% down to 29, so still some good damage, 40% dealt. It would have survived the overexertion as well. Is that what I just saw? The mirroring was actually what took it down? Or was mirroring first and then OX took it down? I'm not entirely sure, but Crystal Bite is enough. Crystal Bite was enough to bring 𝗬𝗪𝗧 down. The Fire Tornado brings 𝗬𝗪𝗧 to its knees, but not all the way, and it does the 49% onto Bandito. That makes 𝗬𝗪𝗧's job a lot simpler.
Yeah, and you know, that is just so impressive because mirroring does not care if you have a little Kinu protector buff. You're still taking 50%. That's so massive. There's not a lot of Temtems that just do 50% damage on a Tokon without being a water type, right? So the fact that you didn't even attack into it and you already brought it down to half is so insane to see. So yeah, this is time and time again why we keep seeing these mirroring 𝗬𝗪𝗧 so often in these high level competitions, because yeah, it's just free value. Not necessarily free, as 𝗬𝗪𝗧 went all the way down to 11, so virtually 90% out the window, but still you didn't even attack the Tokon, and almost enough to take it down with a hook kick. Maybe not at +1 defense, but definitely 𝗬𝗪𝗧 should be enough to clean this up. But okay, expecting that 𝗬𝗪𝗧, Luh Uzi does bring in the 𝗬𝗵𝗸.
Yeah, and 𝗬𝗪𝗧 might be a little bit risky as well, as 𝗬𝗵𝗎 does more of the damage than 𝗬𝗪𝗧 has HP, and it's pretty easy for Uzi to swap in Kinu here. I guess the difference being, if Kinu were to come in, that means that 𝗬𝗪𝗧 does get a hook kick off onto 𝗬𝗵𝗎 without risk of the Fiery Soul outspeeding 𝗬𝗪𝗧 and taking it down beforehand. So it's a bit of give and take, I guess, for Uzi. It depends on what's more important here. Hurt the 𝗬𝗪𝗧 now and potentially protect Bandito. Although there's still a 𝗂𝗀𝗇 in the back with Water Cannon that could still do some damage. But yeah, Uzi does retreat for this Kinu, expecting these heavy water techniques to go his way. The Aquatic Whirlwind. Let's see if it was a read or if it goes into the Kinu. It does hit Kinu down below 50%. With a hook kick for free into this 𝗬𝗵𝗎, the slight OX, but it doesn't matter. The Plague means the mirroring will hurt Django a little bit as well. Potentially now, Django is in death's range. This 𝗂𝗍 does come out. It does have the Synergy Master Water Cutting Lily right now. I think that that's enough. We saw the non-Synergy Master Water Cutting do about this much damage in game 1. So it definitely is pretty scary for this left spot on Uzi's side no matter what.
Yeah, 100%. As you said, Synergy Master an additional 25% on top of the Synergy, granting more damage. I believe it goes from somewhere in the 120s to somewhere in that 146 range, if I'm recalling correct, or 144. So yeah, it's going to be doing so much damage. You know, and there's no more toxic Temtems to deal with this 𝗂𝗍. We saw it was decently fragile. I mean, 4x is a little bit of an illusion, so we couldn't gauge it too well. But still, he shouldn't be going down in a single hit here from any of Luh Uzi's Temtems. So Holysnoopy playing this game number 2 very well. And you know, I do want to point out that previous turn, 𝗬𝗚 is as fast as all can be right there, outspeeding a 3 prio plague from that Danjo the 𝗧𝗵𝗶. So impressive, because 𝗬𝗚 would have gone down if the plague was at least faster with the 3 priority. But no, maybe a very close to max speed 𝗬𝗚, or maybe you don't need that much, as 𝗬𝗚 is just naturally one of the fastest Temtems. But still, 𝗧𝗵𝗶 could have saved himself a whole lot of HP if that plague outspeeds. So well done to Holy's TV training that speed. But okay, let's see what Luh Uzi can do in this turn number 8. As we keep saying that WCL is staring down the 𝗧𝗵𝗶. But alright, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 not allowing the synergy to apply, does swap into the Valorant in that back.
Yeah, that's a little bit questionable. Maybe expecting Django to survive. I would have loved to see like a Wrath come through as well. And yeah, now Django does survive, and it gets the first aid kit, and it gets the sacrifice, all because of the lack of synergy. That would have been an incredible play if 𝗧𝗏𝗏 had just stayed in. But either way, Valorant does still survive. Django is very low HP, and 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 has nowhere to go now, as the water cannon is definitely still an option from this 𝗂𝗍. At +1/+1, I don't think that it would do 50%, but it also, maybe 𝗂𝗍 is a little bit protected. Either Valorant has to be killed or can do some decent damage.
Yeah, that was very peculiar indeed. I thought, of course, with the synergy, 𝗧𝗵𝗶 would have gone down. But I guess Holy's just playing this very safe. He knows 𝗧𝗏𝗏 definitely beats that 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗀 1v1. So just trying to use the Valorant, trying to use that water 𝗂𝗍 to end the 𝗧𝗵𝗶. And hey, that's a spicy 𝗧𝗵𝗶. First aid kit, that has to be the first 𝗧𝗵𝗶 I see with that first aid kit. Allowing the sacrifice to actually get deployed there. Because funny enough, the 𝗂𝗍 outsped that Kinu, as we said earlier. Probably a speedy, aggressive 𝗂𝗍 there. So 3 prio on the 𝗂𝗍, faster than the 3 prio on the Kinu. But doesn't get the kill, as we saw. So hey, a little bit of hope for Luh Uzi. Can he try to capitalize on that surviving 𝗧𝗵𝗶? It's gonna be tough though, because Holy still has that 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 in the back.
Yeah, the HKS does go first as well. So Django from 26 down to 9. And we just saw previously the water cutting lily does outspeed Fiery Soul. Not enough to kill, but the burn. Oh, but water cannon with synergy. It targeted 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 instead with the toxic tick that will be enough to bring 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 down. And 𝗧𝗵𝗶, despite getting the lifeful sap off, it has no stamina. It's just going to be doubled into time and time again until it falls. And I think even with +2, it probably falls this turn.
Yeah, definitely. You could just bring out... Actually, no. You could just try to get as much damage as you can. 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 getting that Hurry War trait. 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 will come online. So let's see. Holy played this very well. Quite the impressive performance in this game number 2. So that was the Noxious Bomb. And I believe... Oh, it doesn't want to go out with the 3 prio. Instead, just goes out with that water cannon. So hey, GG indeed. Holysnoopy proving why he was the champion in his own qualifier. So congratulations, you. Let me know if you can see it.
There we go. All right, Prody versus 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀. quite a bit of toxic. Surprisingly, on Senior Plat side, we haven't really seen much toxic out of him lately. Uh, no, it's so many Temtems. He still has the Naga neutral 𝗂𝗍𝗄, which pretty much means that Naga has to take the ban, or else you're going to be licked to death very, very quickly. So Prody does ban out that Naga. He's got quite a bit of spice on his own team, though. 3 of the 2i evolutions. He's got his own Naga Ragnet. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 has also been very interesting lately. It's so weak to some of the mainstays of the meta, but it still has found its little niche, its own little damage center of 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗆 where it still has value.
Yeah, we'll see. And yeah, as you mentioned before, a little spice coming out from Senior Plat side, a neutral 𝗂𝗍𝗄. Man, we haven't seen that. Last time we saw a neutral 𝗂𝗍𝗄, I believe it was God of Despair. I believe it's just stab on top of stab with something like a resistant badge, harmful lick. So we'll see. That's something 𝗏𝗍𝗆 might have in mind. But okay, Prody bringing out, as you mentioned, the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏s. And wait a second, we haven't seen anyone with the 2 wires. Prody gonna be rocking it here in the very first game of that week 1 AL series. Because, you know, I thought 2 wire would be somewhere decently in the mix with that new common factor buff they gave it. But maybe not enough. And hey, with the 𝗧𝗵𝗆 staring it down. Actually, wait, common factor would nullify. So maybe not too scary. But still, 𝗧𝗵𝗆 into the remaining of Prody's team, not too bad here.
Yeah, in fact, common factor would be even better here, as it would protect 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏s as well. And it is. Prody goes straight for that pickup of 2-wire. There's always the chance that it is a splitter Tem. You know, just because Prody has had all of that experience with Doom, he doesn't want to lose to Doom. So that's possible, but I think common factor is probably better for some of these other Tems that he has that have pretty major weaknesses like Madrid, Yggdrasil, and Ragnet.
Yeah, we will see once that opening turns, as it does proc just like Protector does on the turn. It swamps in. So Prody's trying to decide on that secondary ban, staring down 𝗏𝗏𝗏, staring down some of these toxics, as he only has 1 Wind Temtem available to him, being that 2-wire. So maybe one of those toxics, not too bad. Acronox, he doesn't have any melee, so does decide to ban it. And all right, we got ourselves all the bans there. 2Rock, 2Con will be the bans for 𝗏𝗍𝗆. And guys, ever since we've known 𝗏𝗍𝗆, he's always banned out the Wind Temtem. So not changing here for the AAL.
Yeah, just get rid of those 2i Evos. There are too many of them, and we don't want them in this game. Protects Yggdrasil, protects Noxolotl just a little bit more. Still, 2-wire is going to be tough to deal with. If 𝗧𝗏𝗆𝗆 takes damage beforehand, it's, you know, the common factor, does it also proc multiple times per game? Is that my understanding correct? That you can do it over and over again? So really, you're just going to have to bang your head against the wall doing neutral damage until it's done. You're not going to be able to Thunder Strike and stop thinking about it anymore. It's going to be recurring.
Yeah, well, hey, this is the final matchup of today's series, guys, and actually the final matchup for the week, guys. Heading into that second week, let's see who's going to be winning it here. 2 of the best tamers around, Prody versus 𝗏𝗍𝗆. And there we go. Common factor does indeed proc, so it's not going to be that splitter trait as we thought. It is going to be the common factor, so that is actually beautiful to see for the side of Prody, because usually 2-wire and 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s would be weak to that 𝗧𝗏𝗆𝗆, but now everything just connects neutrally, which helps out the Mashuk a little bit as well, right? Beta Burst Feather Gatling would have done a little bit onto the Mashuk. So hey, it kind of works on both boards, but definitely better for Prody because of that very scary 𝗧𝗏𝗆𝗆 staring him down.
Yeah, it works out really well, and I think 2-wire still has pretty major damage potential here, just because 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s is both toxic typing and synergy master trait. That means Faraday Cage from 2-wire is just going to obliterate somebody. You know, combine that with a beta burst, it's going to be so much damage onto either of these Tems. 𝗧𝗏𝗆𝗆 doesn't want to risk it, swaps into Noxolotl instead. Potentially some risk there as he's not nullified and there is a bird over here, but energy manipulation going towards Mashuk. knocking off the nullification as well. Oh
Wow.
no. That means the wastewater not doing very much to 2-wire, and the Synergy Master Faraday Cage, it
Oh.
targeted Nox. Oh no, I thought
Oh.
for sure that knocking off that nullification on 𝗏𝗏 meant the end of days for our punch bag, but no, he holds on due to the splitting damage, knocks a 𝗏𝗨 instead.
Yeah, interesting, because if you're gonna knock out the nullification, I would have assumed you're trying to gun it down, and you know that is with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Synergy Master trait, so 25% additional damage on that Faraday Cage. Honestly could have just brought it down all the way down, but maybe perhaps this is just because he knows that 𝗏𝗏 is trapped in here, so he's able to get it off. But you know, 𝗏𝗏 went before the 2-wire first turn, so most likely will go before the 2-wire, or 100% will go before the 2-wire this turn, unless there's a tornado, of course. But yeah, it just allows the 2-wire to get a little bit more injured before the 𝗏𝗏 goes down. But maybe Prody had to think about this. I mean, maybe he just wanted to start doing some bigger damage on 𝗧𝗏𝗺 from the get-go. But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. If 𝗧𝗏𝗺 had taken that damage, it would have been great, and 𝗏𝗏 would have been in danger to a beta burst this turn, so it still would have done quite a lot of damage. So I definitely see where Prody was going. He expected them to just stay in and play the game as it was, but that's not the case here. The Feather Gatling instead now from 2-wire onto 𝗏𝗏, not using Faraday Cage. And Beta Burst from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s will be enough to bring it down to 0.0, but that means 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 can Toxic Ink this 2-wire. It's -1 defense, it's poisoned, and it will die next turn.
Yeah, on death's door, just that final toxic tick does bring it down. But hey, mission accomplished. Prody did want to gun down that 𝗏𝗏, so now his Mudred in the back line feeling a little bit more at ease now that that melee attack is taken care of. So not too bad. Turn 2 with the kill, always happy to see that. So Prody looking kind of good. But man, the common factor effects have expired. So 𝗧𝗏𝗺 coming back onto the board. Both of these Temtems might just have to go running away. 2-wire being that exception, since he goes down anyways, might as well go down swinging. If he has a tornado, might as well throw it over to the 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏. Unless he just goes first, which I believe he was going first, so just a simple FG might just be enough for 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏. But that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s might have to transition into that back line. Something like a Mudred doesn't feel too bad. Something like that Nidrasil before Fire Tornado goes online doesn't feel that bad as well. So those two Temtems might be the key targets Prody is eyeing. But we'll see. Maybe he has something else in mind as well.
Yeah, I definitely like Mudred coming in. The only risk to that is if 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 were to become a Yowler, there would be an Oshidashi next turn. But that would be a really big read from snrplat. I think for Prody, it definitely makes sense. Swap out the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s, just keep 2-wire in and go for some damage. I would have to calculate to see exactly what's going on, and that might be what Prody's doing between the Feather Gatling or the potential tornado on 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I think that the lower special defense might actually be enough that an uninvested tornado would deal just a little bit more damage.
And man, having these recordings, I can't type in chat. It closes the screen. Oh man. Okay, either way, back to the game. I think for sure 2-wire does just go down swinging, allowing a free entry of any of those Temtems. The thing we were considering though is, what does the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s want to become? You know, trying to read a Thunderstrike, what if you just bring in Nidrasil in for that spot, and then once the 2-wire goes down, I feel like that's just a free Mudred. I feel like that's the most safe line to play. I don't see anything really wrong with that line, because Fire Tornado is still about 2 turns away, as he didn't swap it in. Or wait, he did swap it in, right? So maybe just 1 turn away.
Yeah, he did. I almost would have liked to see the reverse of that, swapping in the Mudred instead to take the potential hit, and then Nidrasil on the opposite side, just to get the holds available on Mudred's DV. But Faraday Cage does come through, 2-wire sacrificing itself for a little bit of damage onto Nidrasil, and the Toxic Ink from Nox is not going to accomplish very much, but damage is still damage. And now This is looking a little bit difficult, I think, for Prody. Losing the common factor, losing 2-wire, it means that 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 is going to be relatively scary into some of these Tems on Prody's side, and there's not too much that he can do about it because 𝗀𝗷𝗺 will always keep 𝗬𝗏𝗺 away.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Ashi Dashies scaring away 𝗬𝗏𝗺. But you know, that was a fantastic read for 𝗬𝗏𝗺. Knowing that either 𝗬𝗏𝗺 was coming out this turn or on that free swap, does go ahead and swaps out that 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁, fearing the 𝗬𝗏𝗺 coming in. And hey, 𝗬𝗏𝗺 is on the current board absorbing the damage coming out. But all right, here comes the Ragnet. What can Ragnet do against a toxic heavy board? You know, this is a little reminiscent of that 𝗬𝗫𝗄 versus 𝗽𝗶𝗰𝗸𝗶 matchup where it was P-jab, H-slaps everywhere. So at the very least, Ragnet has some P-jab potential to try to whittle away at this toxic matchup Prody's facing.
Yeah, I mean, it would really just be the P-jab. He could use Charged Iron Filings to try and allow 𝗬𝗏𝗺 to do a little bit more damage. But otherwise, P-jabs. That's what we're looking at here. 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 could always use Stare in retaliation to that. But I don't know if it would even be... I guess it would be worth it. If 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁's faster, can Stare before the Toxic Ink, would be pretty nice. And Acid Reflux, though, will be some good damage as well as quite a lot of poison onto this Ragnet, bringing it down to about that 50% mark afterwards. The Spores to heal 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 nice and early, followed up by a P-jab onto 𝗬𝗏𝗺. Narco hit onto 𝗬𝗏𝗺, down to about that 50% mark now. Very, very nice play indeed.
Yeah, not too bad. Looking at the HP differentials, Prody has a slight edge, but these Temtems still remaining on 𝗬𝗫𝗄 is always such a headache. Or not always, but posing a headache right now against Prody's remaining team. 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 covering that 𝗬𝗺𝗁, 𝗀𝗷𝗺, as you mentioned, covering the 𝗬𝗏𝗺. You know, somewhere give or take, because 𝗬𝗏𝗺 kind of covers the 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 and 𝗬𝗺𝗁 covers the 𝗀𝗷𝗺, so it's whoever finds each other on the same board or on the potential swap in, or if it's the final two Temtems remaining where there's nowhere to run. So yeah, actually, both Tamers have good coverage on each other, so it just comes down to who can maneuver these Tems a little bit slightly better, or just who makes the sharper reads in this first game. And hey, a little P-jab on 𝗬𝗏𝗺 will go a long way. You know, a P-jab number 2 plus a narcoleptic hit on the opposing 𝗬𝗏𝗺 might just get the kill against 𝗬𝗫𝗄. Let's see if he goes for it.
Yeah, double swaps here, though. 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 coming back in. 𝗀𝗷𝗺 coming in for the first time. The Toxic Ink onto 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁's not going to do much damage, but the ticks are always nice. The Charged Iron Filings might actually be huge onto that 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁. That means that more damage is going to be dealt. It means that Ragnet can hurt it as well, as Piezoelectric Blow is available here. This 𝗀𝗷𝗺, though, if you just let 𝗀𝗷𝗺 set itself up, I mean, that's a little bit of damage. You need to do so much more. I mean, Ouroboros is still available. If 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 goes down, then Adoro is feeling pretty good from Prody. But that's a lot to do first. I think 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁, the very bulky beetle, has quite a bit of staying power even at this lower HP mark.
Yeah, and just like shibamata displayed earlier in these matches, 𝗬𝗫𝗄 also working with a good friend, so I was convinced that half full was undoubtedly the more competitive trait, but we have two Tamers today working with that good friend 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁. So hey, making it work for his team. But you know, something I wanted to point out, this 𝗀𝗷𝗺, ever since the Kinu meta, 𝗀𝗷𝗺 kind of went into that matcha instead of chamomile, since 𝗀𝗷𝗺 had to be run slow, or rather the Kinu had to be run slow enough to underspeed 𝗀𝗷𝗺 to give it that little, to give the buff. But now with Kinu being taken out of the picture, 𝗀𝗷𝗺 with that chamomile feeling quite nice again. You know, you don't have to wait for that one rest turn to get that hibernation value. And of course, staring down a 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗁, which thrives on those toxic ticks. Or what did I just say? The toxic ticks, guys. Toxic ticks aren't going to be doing too much to the 𝗀𝗷𝗺.
Yeah, Piezoelectric Blow onto 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗁 is a nice start of damage. The Savage Suplex, Ragnet's still barely holding on. But if 𝗧𝗵𝗺 goes for a Thunder Strike right now, no, it goes for the Burrow instead. 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺 allowed to survive for just a little bit longer. I don't know if it wants to be here, though. It swapped into this, and it might just have to swap back out.
Yeah, that was an interesting decision for snrplat. What was he scared of with the Burrow there? Because Burrow's a one priority, so he would have just taken the damage before the Burrow would have been deployed. So man, just trying to protect himself from an oncoming attack the next turn. But you know, if he went for an attack, as you mentioned, something like an Electric Storm / just Thunder Strike, he would have got some big damage, at least a confirmed kill on the Ragnet. Because now Ragnet can maybe get off a final P-Jab. Or can maybe just pop the Bamboozle here. Or actually, let's think about it. 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺, as you mentioned, does not want to stay in. Even though it wants to attack the Yowler, I don't think it wants to be eating a Thunder Strike. At the same time, 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺's special defense are quite high. And this is a base special attack 𝗧𝗵𝗺, so it won't be one-shotting it like we're used to seeing. So, oh, it's actually the Yowler that will be retreating. Interesting enough.
Yeah, Yowler leaving does give Prody a little bit of breathing room to play with Mudred instead. 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺, though, staying in, going for the Beta Burst, not accomplishing its job and taking an Electric Storm in the process. 𝗧𝗵𝗺 goes unpopped as well, as Ragnet wasn't able to outspeed and deal that damage. So that makes things a little bit more complicated. That means that 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺 is still in quite a lot of danger, unless, you know, 𝗬𝗵𝗺 plus a Soil would be enough to bring 𝗧𝗵𝗺 down. It pops the Boozle, it gets rid of it, but there's a Nidrisil in the back that doesn't mind that whatsoever.
Yeah, that could be a decent line of play. Just preserve the 𝗧𝗵𝗺, don't fall victim of that double up there. And you know, even though Nidrisil will eat it quite well, damage is damage. It's at -1 defense. Not that that would matter against two special attackings, but you know, it's already low on HP. So with that double up on attack, that should just be one more attack. Another Beta Burst or another EM should close things out for that Nidrisil. But yeah, Magia not looking too bad. But neither is Prody. I almost want to say is relatively even here. So there we go. 𝗧𝗵𝗺, fearing that popping the Bamboozle there does swap into the Nidrisil. Let's see what Prody decided to do. All right, Crystal Dust. So he was going to pop the Bamboozle with Crystal Dust. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what was going on there, but a stare onto 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺 is a nice start. The Inner Spirit from this 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺 onto Nidrisil. It does enough, right? That's 0.0. That's a dead Nidrisil from an Inner Spirit.
Yeah, that is huge. Harnessing those ancestors there for the 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺s, taking down the clean kill. And now I believe the Bamboozle has expired. Never mind. It's one more turn of that Bamboozle. But the same thing can be said as we were talking about last turn, right? 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺 still has plenty of stamina. So does the Mudred. So 𝗵𝗵 plus that Soil Steam is online, and you know, now there's not too much of a safe swap out. Yowler takes effective damage from that 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺s, and it takes some big neutral damage from the Mudred. So man, Prody's looking kind of good now that that Nidrisil Mashuk have been taken care of. Oh man, how can Magia bring things back around in this game 1?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to be on the back of this Yowler, it would appear. It does come back in. It does have that chamomile proc again, the immunity. There won't be any toxic ticks from Nidrisil. It won't be put to sleep by Mudred's Crystal Deluge synergy of 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗺s. So that's a little bit of a saving grace. You know, definitely if it is a 50 speed Yowler, if it can outspeed potentially the Nidrisil even, it could do quite a lot of damage. And the energy manipulation, yeah, it goes towards the 𝗧𝗵𝗺. It's not going to be enough on its own. Handcuffs, though, trapping it in is a nice little bonus. The Fire Tornado comes through from the 𝗧𝗵𝗺 onto 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺, 66%, down to 38.
Oh, man, I think Magia was a little bit slightly too 5-head for his own good. I think he was reading the Nidrisil swap out to try to eat the Thunder Strike. So that was Magia trying to read, as we said, the Nidrisil. But man, maybe Prody just keeping things very straightforward, not wanting to eat the Thunder Strike with that Yggdrasil, and just stays in because most people would think that 𝗬𝗺𝗺 you want to save it for the Yowler. But no, Prody feels confident that he can do the deed with that Yggdrasil, because with the 𝗬𝗺𝗺s taken out, this Yowler might just bring things back around for Mr. Magia. Actually, I think it just might. It depends how strong this Yggdrasil might just be.
Yeah, I mean, it would take quite a lot for Yggdrasil without the Toxic Ticks to kill a Yowler. And we know from experience, Mudred does not want to fight this Yowler. I mean, Oshidashi doesn't need the +1. It could be -5 and still kill this Mudred. So, Brilliant Gust, though, it's a nice kill onto 𝗧𝗵𝗆. 𝗧𝗏𝗁 was put to sleep by the Crystal Deluge. So Yowler is forced into play to take at least one Beta Burst. That's a little bit of saving grace for Prody, but that's still a very, very tall, bare mountain to climb. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it with Mudred and Yggdrasil alone.
Yeah, so true. And you know, I didn't expect the 𝗧𝗏𝗆 to fall down like that. But yeah, the 1-2 punch, the Virulent Gust does enough to take it all the way down. And we know with 𝗧𝗏𝗁 snoozing right here and Yowler being as slow as he traditionally is, 𝗬𝗺𝗺s could just go down swinging. But the Soul Steam does come out, bringing it to exactly 50%. Let's see, does Beta Burst want to come out? It does. So going out with the heavy overexertion and jeez.
Wow, 2.5%. The Hibernate, though, knowing what was coming, heals itself back up, gives itself more stamina. And Mudred overexerted there, correct? So it's not able to attack again. Yggdrasil might have Narco hit available. But that still probably doesn't do that 42%. The Oshidashi is coming towards Mudred right now. Yggdrasil still has a lot to do here. snrplat, in my opinion, despite having the HP disadvantage, is probably still looking good to win.
Yeah, I think so as well. This might just come down to the wire. If the Mudred did overexert, which I think it did, I don't think anything connected on the Mudred, so being at that 90% does signify the little slight overexertion. So yeah, as you mentioned, if Yggdrasil's one priority, so Yowler should still go first. Gets the Oshidashi onto Mudred. The only way a Savage Suplex? Wait a second,
man.
Is Magia not running Oshidashi?
So during the DreamHack event, I believe he was running Late Torment instead.
Wow, biting himself in the booty here. Could have got the confirmed kill on Mudred, but wasn't able to because the lack of the 4x damage or even effective damage, to say the least. Oh man, that might have just cost Magia the game there, because Mudred staying alive. At least he could go down swinging, something like a big DV, something like a Crystal Dust at the very least. And yeah,
that's definitely game changing. Now Mudred surviving to do one more attack. Acid Reflux is going to be pretty nice damage. Mudred with the hard resist, though, it's really just a poison. It wakes up the Yggdrasil as well, but Nid just clicks rest. It doesn't go for any of its attacks. It might have been too fast anyway. But now Narco Hit is available once more, and Mudred can just go for a heavy hitting attack if he wanted to. The only risk here, if this 𝗧𝗏𝗁 is holding on to First Aid Kit, you knock it into trance, it's going to get some heals, and it's going to get some special defense buffs, and then you knock it into First Aid Kit, it's going to get even more heals. And
man.
Yggdrasil is going to have too much work to do.
Yeah, you're actually absolutely right. We have been seeing that time and time again, but the Soul Steam does take it into the trance tray. Is it enough? Let's see if First Aid Kit procs. It does proc, so back up to 32%. So this narcoleptic hit shouldn't be enough. And you know, something we didn't talk about earlier, Yggdrasil was wearing an E-Drink, but I believe it got snared. So if it wants to go for more narco hips down the line, it will have to go to sleep for a couple turns. And yeah, it was a snare on that 𝗧𝗏𝗆 nice and early. All right, so hey, we got ourselves the late game here. +2 special defense. Not that it's going to matter all that much. So Toxic Ink was doing about 5% around.
Yeah, I mean, that's not very much damage at all. It's able to heal faster than it takes the damage. That's going to be too much stamina cost for 𝗧𝗧𝗃. And like you said, without energy drink, without the possibility of spamming those narco hits, it's just not going to be possible. 41% all the way down to 15 from that +2 acid reflux. The narco hit down to 6.9 noise once more. But it's just not here. It's not in the cards for Prody today. He came so close. He had an incredible game, some very fantastic reads early on, but it has led to snrplat just barely eking through on game one with this really, really bulky Nox.
Yeah, for sure. And man, that first aid kit looking so nice for the side of Prody. But wait a second. 𝗧𝗃𝗃 outspeeding it 8.5%. Oh,
no. 1 HP remaining. Prody almost made me eat my words. He wanted that, but no. Overexertion for the win. Every single Tem is dead. Yeah, that was crazy. 1 HP. I don't think I've ever seen that kind of survival from any Tem before. Oh my god, that was incredible.
Yeah, that was because 𝗧𝗃𝗃 was faster, so I thought for a little second there that Prody won that because Toxic Ink was gonna go first, but so close. I literally think it was 1 HP making the difference, but it looks like we already have a different game here. So didn't like the snare target 𝗧𝗵𝗺, as we mentioned, does get the ban. But 𝗬𝗃𝗃 just holding true to what he knows. You just banned the win Temtem, so banning that 2-rock nice and early.
Yeah, and I still love what Prody's trying to do here with the 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗃. The problem is banning 𝗧𝗵𝗺, leaving Naga available. snrplat just goes Naga 𝗂𝗀𝗃. It's an iridescence 𝗂𝗀𝗃, so it resists the 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗃's beta burst or 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗻s. It just does so much damage to whatever is next to 𝗬𝗺𝗺 for this entire time. If for some reason Faraday Cage, or I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind again, Common Factor were to come through, then that would just ruin 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺𝗃's chance even more. But no, 𝗧𝗵𝗺 instead of the 𝗂𝗀𝗃. A little bit suspicious, I think, because really that 𝗂𝗀𝗃 would have just been GG's.
Yeah, maybe that was to try to cover the 2-wire coming in, saying, all right, if you're going to Common Factor everything, let's just get 𝗧𝗵𝗺, who's not going to be weak to these Feather Gatlings nice and early. Let's just try to get this 𝗧𝗵𝗺 nice, maybe a Madness buff. Maybe 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃 has a double Madness buff in mind. I haven't seen that kind of line of play in quite some long time. So I don't think he's going to be going for it, especially considering that electric punch staring down this 𝗧𝗵𝗺. So yeah, maybe this 𝗧𝗵𝗺 has to go retreating to that back line. Maybe swap into one of those toxic Temtems that 𝗬𝗃𝗃 loves so dearly. And okay, Acronox will be that same second ban for Prody.
Yeah, 2-wire gets picked up along with that 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃. It looks like neutral 𝗂𝗀𝗃 is going to be left behind, the poor guy. I guess the fear really was just in double Naga reversing the Seat Aura. Would have made snrplat's Naga quite a big target for the first few turns. But either way, this still looks pretty good. If Common Factor were to come through, then it doesn't even matter that all of these toxics are weak to the wind, and it is 𝗂𝗀𝗃 instead of Yowler in the end. So resist a little bit of that 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗺's beta burst if it comes down to it. Maybe have a better shot.
That is right. We're going to find out here in our game number 2 of the final matches in these AAL series. So snrplat, as we said, does start with that infamous Deceit Aura combo. And maybe not too comboed with this 𝗧𝗵𝗺 here, but still Deceit Aura is so formidable, but maybe not staring down Prody's current team. I mean, nothing really takes double damage. Maybe the exception being Mudrid from 𝗧𝗵𝗺's Fury, but everything looks like Prody came prepared to really deal with these 𝗧𝗵𝗺s. Has the digital and 2-wire, has the electric, and of course has those crystal and toxic ink. So Prody's team probably doesn't have to ban 𝗧𝗵𝗺s as we saw against 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃. Just the big question here is who is Magia going to swap in and try to eat that electric punch? We did mention one of those toxic Temtems. Maybe the 𝗬𝗪𝗀 doesn't feel too bad.
Yeah, there are definitely swap options here for Plat that wouldn't really mind fighting Ragnet completely as opposing to the Naga. 𝗧𝗪𝗀, though, it's not really accomplishing too much here. I wonder if a Madness buff is the right play, because it does still resist everything from Ouroboros and Ragnet. Just get your special attack up there a little bit more so that when you do click Acid Reflux, it is in killing range of things. But no, it's the 𝗂𝗄𝗇 instead, resisting the Electro Punch, resisting both Toxic and Mental from Ouroboros. It still does some pretty good damage just because of how squishy these fish are. But I don't know. I mean, now 56% the harmful lick is available towards the Ragnet spot, and there aren't really swap-ins that want to take that hit. But it definitely wouldn't be killing range of anything.
Yeah, 𝗬𝗪 does pack a big punch, so we'll see. Ragnet with the double up could be out of here. That's something Prody has to keep in mind. And you know, usually when you see a neutral Temtem, you feel so comfortable having a mental on your side. But man, that iridescent core is throwing everything on its head. And now just a beta burst won't even be enough. But as you said, still enough. I mean, not enough, but you know, around 50% damage. So 𝗂𝗄𝗇 isn't necessarily super healthy. But still, I think 𝗂𝗄𝗇 is going to be able to survive here, even from a double up, enough to get that harmful lick off. And man, we have to see what item that 𝗂𝗄𝗇 is wearing. If it's a resistance badge, plus the stab it already holds, it's going to be packing a huge punch. The question is, what's coming in for the Ragnet? Or does he just let it go? Because you almost need Ragnet with that one prio electric punch for this guys. So does Prody want to preserve it and maybe just bring in maybe 𝗬𝗪𝗀 of his own or something of the like?
Yeah, I think that 𝗬𝗪𝗀 would work. I'm wondering if Two-Wire as well, go for the common factor and beta burst on 𝗂𝗄𝗇 just to do a little bit more damage than before. Oh, but no, Ouroboros retreats for Mudrid. Definitely, it's a pretty good call. It does do effective damage into the 𝗂𝗄𝗇 with its Earth typing due to Iridescence. But Charged Iron Filings, no, is nullified anyway. Taser means that both of these, the 𝗂𝗄𝗇 and the Nox, are going to be burned. Harmful lick onto Mudrid, comes in and is already knocked back down. That's 33%. Or 22%, I'm sorry. That is so low after just one hit.
Yeah, man, that little stare doing wonders for the side of Magia. And that was with that tick of embers from the taser on that Charged Iron Filing. So it was a 30% mitigation on the damage. You know, without that little embers from that taser, I think Mudrid might have just gone all the way down. I know the math doesn't equate to exactly 30% HP, but still, it only had about 22.7 like you said, so might have almost been enough, but it probably survived by a really little bit amount. But still, big damage nonetheless. Mudrid, always such a good Temtem. Maybe not so much into snrplat's team, but damage is damage. One Temp closer to getting out of here. Let's see what Prody has in mind. He kept in the Ragnet for the nullification, so now everything connects neutrally, including things like that Crystal Deluge, Soil Theme. Oh, and hey, he does bring in the mental, so Crystal Deluge does apply, and now 𝗧𝗪𝗀 is snoozing here.
Yeah, followed up by the Fin beat, though, taking advantage of priority. Mudrid just falls down. That is so strong. That is so strong. When you get the stab and resistance badge on that high attack 𝗂𝗄𝗇, that is just incredible. Mudrid already down, and now there's really no effective damage into this neutral 𝗂𝗄𝗇. Its HP is low enough that it probably won't be too much of a problem. But definitely still exists here. A more common factor, though, nullification once more. 𝗧𝗪𝗀 and 𝗂𝗄𝗇 are not out of it just yet. Although, now Ouroboros is at risk of taking damage that it otherwise would not have taken.
Yeah, I like what you said. Usually that little Fin B is only what, like 4 or 5% at the most, but with all that doubling up like resistance badge and the stab equated to what, like 10% the Mudred had. So really good tempo for the side of snrplat. But hey, now the common factor does make it makes his appearance. So now that 𝗃𝗺𝗺𝗁 that was connecting at half effectiveness against the core should just affect neutrally, so maybe a good beta burst or an energy manip into a feather galling or any just double up. I believe 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗍 will go down. The big question here is if 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗍 is fast enough. Can he try to get off anything before 𝗃𝗺𝗺𝗁 and 2-wire double into it? Or is this even an opportunity for Prody to take care of 𝗧𝗏𝗧 before it actually, wait a second, is nullified? I don't think you can deal with the Noxel, so I think 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗍 might be a better bet.
Well, this is the Synergy Master Faraday Cage right now, so it might do enough to 𝗧𝗏𝗧 to bring it down. It definitely would be risky, though, as you would just trigger First Aid Kit and Trance, and we'd be in the same situation as what we saw during Game 1. I think that that's probably the calculation Prody's thinking about right now. You know, there aren't too many Tems in the back that would want to take that damage either. It's effective against both Naga and Mashuk, and Yggdrasil, I mean, it would just be a lot in general on Yggdrasil. So it might be worth letting 𝗧𝗏𝗧 hit Trance if it's able to survive that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, Prody just really considering his options. I think 𝗏𝗍𝗪 is as well with that taking time in that reserve tank. So, oh, it looks like they clicked. So energy manipulation does connect on the 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗍, bring it down to about half of what it currently had. And let's see, does 2-wire go first or can 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗪 go down swinging? No, it cannot. 2-wire just a little bit too speedy. So 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗪 goes down with nothing to say for himself, but at least he got the kill on Mudred. But not too bad. Prody bringing a bit more momentum back towards his side. Who does 𝗏𝗍𝗪 want to bring out? Ah, it will be that Deceit Aura. And let's try to remember, 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗍𝗪. This would be turn 3 Deceit Aura? Or turn 2, since it didn't come in on a swap. It came in on a def. I think it might just be turn 2 if I'm remembering right.
For some reason, I still think that it counts as turn 3. I feel like every single time that it comes in, it counts as 2. Even though everybody tells me that that's not how it works, it always seems to count down that way. So we'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on it for right now. We know for sure that only one turn had been played. The Beta Burst does go first, does quite a bit of damage to 2-wire. Beta Burst back into Naga, does a little bit less, but Faraday Cage.
Oh!
We don't even have to count. There's no
Yeah.
counting to be had. Deceit Aura is gone.
Yeah, I was actually curious to see in that what was that interaction there, but man, Faraday Cage, one of the newest buffs to the 2-wire. You know, Prody making quite the statement for 2-wire. You know, Tokon's running rampant, 2-Rocks running somewhere in the middle. Maybe 2-wire should be more represented. So well done for Prody. You know, good counter against Nagais. And yeah, out the door goes. So Ragnit not necessarily needed. But all right, 𝗏𝗍𝗪, final 3 Temtems remaining. Can Prody bring things back? It's looking decent so far.
Ooh, yeah, I like this a lot. The energy manipulation, it just barely doesn't hit First Aid Kit. That's 25%, right?
Yeah, 25.1. So you're so right.
The 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗧 doesn't get the free healing, hits with the Feather Gatling, and Nox goes down.
Yeah, huge. You just feel that spiraling snowball going down the hill. Prody momentum on momentum, getting kill after kill. And now Mashuk's coming in. But you know what's back online? Faraday Cage and a Beta Burst. Mashuk has nowhere to run. I think it's as clear as the sky. Or maybe sometimes the sky isn't too clear, but a clear sky. Prody might just be taking this game number 2. And you know, we haven't had a game 3 situation. This might just be it. Unless Yggdrasil and Mashuk bring things back. But staring down 100% HP 𝗃𝗺𝗺𝗁, that's just 2 shots 𝗃𝗺𝗺𝗁 has to do on Mashuk. And then all those other Temtems versus Yggdrasil. I think Prody definitely has this one.
Yeah, I mean, 𝗏𝗃 is guaranteed dead this turn. This Faraday Cage is going to be ridiculous, and followed up by the Beta Burst. I don't think 52% is asking all that much here, especially if it's a max special attack 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺. You know, 52.2. Yeah. Oh no, .6. It survived long enough to get team killed. Oh no. That is a horrible situation.
Yeah, that is the worst way to go down. A little team kill, trying to level up or trying to heal up his 𝗏𝗃. The spores going a little bit backwards, so Prody will be bringing it back around.
25.1 HP, so just one above what it needed for first aid kit to trigger. That would have protected 𝗏𝗁𝗁 and potentially given Plat another chance, a new lease on life, but I mean, happening twice in a row there with both Nox and 𝗏𝗃, that was just so unfortunate. Prody, of course, leading with this 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺 2-wire, as it is the duo that have just wreaked havoc on all of Senior Plat's Tems. It makes a lot of sense that this is where he'd want to go with this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is one of the first times we ever see this this little combo here. 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺s with that 2-wire looking quite nice with that new Faraday Cage, as we keep saying. Synergy Master 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺s adding additional pressure onto your opponents. I actually like this a lot. Prody bringing out the spice as he usually does. But you know, one question I wanted to ask, why does Senior Plat keep banning this 𝗬𝗏? He doesn't feel necessarily weak to earth techniques. Why 𝗬𝗏 over something like the 2-wire? Is it because he kind of likes common factor? Maybe sometimes it works for him rather than against him?
Potentially, yes. And I'm trying to wonder, for Senior Plat's Naga, we have not seen its gear yet, right? Because 𝗬𝗏 is a pretty hard counter for Naga now due to reactive Vial. You know, a Nox Bomb on turn 1 followed by a Stone Ball on turn 2, you'll underspeed the Psy Surge and usually kill a Naga before it's able to do anything to 𝗬𝗏. So that might be what he's thinking, just don't want to take the earth damage onto 𝗬𝗵𝗆, onto 𝗂𝘀𝗶ℎ, or, you know, potentially losing Naga in that way.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So yeah, respectable ban. So the other two Wind Temtems besides the 2-wire do get the ban for the side of Prody. And same bans, that's Prody's been doing this whole set here, 𝗬𝗵𝗆 and that Acronox. So final couple Temtems. Does Matt Gia want to bring in his Nagais again? Because you know, it didn't really do all that much in game number 2. It pretty much came on the board, and in that same turn, it did go down with the 2 shots. But you're right. I wonder what it does have, because it didn't have the Vial. It didn't have, I mean, nothing proc. Maybe it was 𝗬𝗵𝗆, right? 𝗬𝗵𝗆, there was no toxic Tems connecting to it. So that's what maybe it could be.
It might still be Vial though, because last game we saw Beta Burst, which wouldn't have triggered it, and then Faraday Cage killed, so we wouldn't have seen it anyway. So it's possible that it is a Vial.
Very true. So yeah, just because no effective damage, we did not get to see it. So we'll pay attention for this game. Well, this is it, folks. Final game of the day, closing out week 1 games for the very first time in this league today. So Prody trying to pull the upset against Senior Plat. And when I say upset, it's just because traditionally Matt Gia has won a bit more often than Prody. But hey, Prody no slouch himself. And speaking of Nagais, does bring it in. But this might be a little dicey.
Oh boy, the 𝗵𝗵𝗆 means that it's trapped in place. Feather Gatling. Okay, just trying to knock off that nullification to do more damage. It's still quite a lot. That means that Naga is facing down a possible Faraday Cage or even just a Virulent Gust. Honestly, might be enough of Mr. 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺s if it's strong enough, leaving Yowler in not the best situation.
Yeah, we'll see. Of course, everything is nullified, so 𝗬𝗫𝗺𝗺s usually wanting to gun down that Yowler before anything is said and done, but now it's just going to be neutral pressure, and the same can be said about Yowler. Usually Yowler doesn't really want to attack into mental Temtems, even though it sometimes gets some good damage. Now is definitely going to get some big damage, so whoever Yowler decides on. However, though, because of the C aura, Yowler should be going first, so it doesn't get that additional 35% comebacker value, but still 50% increase from that +1 attack should be packing a punch, followed up by a Nagai's Fury. If he doubles up on the 2-wire, that might be a dead bird before the far day cage does apply. But it depends on these speeds here, so this is a kind of a tricky situation.
Yeah, tricky situation, absolutely. I think the only surefire thing in this turn is that Naga's not happy. Pretty much everybody else, it's all up in the air, but Naga's not happy. It's the 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗫 is here, so you kind of mentioned it. He will still have some kind of impact. Psy Surge plus anything from Yowler would go off. Prody, though, swapping out 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫 for this 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗫, just trying to tank any of those potential hits a little bit better. The Savage Suplex into 𝗧 does over 50%. That was quite a lot of damage. The Fury as well. Luckily for 2-wire, nullified for one more turn. That's not going to be ×2 damage. But the Faraday Cage will be. That is the end of Naga, and no reason to count the 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗫 returns once again.
Yeah, it looks like Prody just found such a solid team to really counter these Naga's teams. 2-wire being at the centerfold of that, so really good job. And 𝗬𝗺𝗫𝗄 maybe biting himself slightly there. If he would have Savage Suplex the same spot, could have potentially got the kill, but maybe 𝗬𝗺𝗫𝗄 was reading the swap out. But I'm not too sure. I know he wanted the big damage on the 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄 because the 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄 checks the Yowler. If you get rid of a 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄, Yowler could almost single-handedly bring things back. So fair enough for him to gun it down nice and early, but might have just gotten the kill and preserving that Naga's for one more turn. At the same regard though, Naga's wasn't necessarily doing all that much anyway, so I can't blame him. I think he was ready to let Naga's go this game.
Yeah, especially, Naga can't really hurt 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄 or Ragnet, and they both are pretty hard counters with the Toxic typing and the Electric typing respectively. The most that Naga could have hoped for would probably have been the Fury onto Mudred and 2-wire non-nullified, and that's asking quite a lot. So it did still get some good damage in. 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄 comes back in for that synergy on Faraday Cage, just trying to do what it can to this 𝗬𝗍. And after the Toxic ticks, it is about 50%, so it is a nice start for its first turn here, but the Harmful Lick is just going to do so much damage. That is the end of 2-wire, just like that.
Yeah, not too bad. 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄 does come in, but Yowler went for a secondary attack buff, so double damage is what the Yowler will be inflicting onto Prody's Temtems. Who does he want to bring in to try to bear all that force? Wait a second. Iridescence 𝗬𝗍𝗄 doesn't want to take a Mud Showers, correct? I believe that is double damage because water resists, so maybe Mudred can kill the 𝗬𝗍𝗄. And we did see that 𝗬𝗍𝗺𝗍 is not available for this Yowler, so maybe it could hold on for a little bit more, but no, Mudred won't be the option. It will be 𝗬𝗺𝗀 instead.
Yeah, Mudred would have been effective damage into 𝗬𝗍𝗄, but this Yowler is +2 right now. That Savage Suplex would be enough for poor Mudred. The +1 Savage Suplex in game 1, or maybe it was game 2, it did quite a lot. It was in that 80-85% range, right? So I think a +2 would definitely be enough to bring Mudred down. If all that it would take is snrplat swapping in 𝗬𝗺𝗫𝗄 to take that soil, and Mudred would be gone, and that would be a pretty big loss. So it makes good sense that 𝗬𝗺𝗫𝗄 comes out instead, just wants to do a little bit of damage as it's able to. Unfortunately, this 𝗬𝗍𝗄 does resist every single thing that's on the field right now.
Yeah, so on paper, maybe Prody has a slight type advantage, but in terms of setup, this Yowler is ready to roll. Double damage, as we keep saying. Yowler with the big O Savage Suplex online into a potential hibernation on that final chamomile turn. Actually, wait a second. It is the final chamomile turn. So won't be getting off a hibernation unless he wants to be frozen for those next 2 to 3 turns. So let's see how this turn plays out. This is going to be interesting because Yowler wants to go for some big damage. But who is he going to go on? He probably wants to do the damage on 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄. But I know he wants to kill the 𝗬𝗺𝗀 as well. Is Harmful Lick enough for 41% on that 𝗬𝗺𝗀 and just a potential Savage Suplex on 𝗬𝗺𝗺𝗫𝗄? It doesn't feel too right because it's a neutral into a mental. but you have to do it some way or the other. Looking at snrplat's team, you don't have anything doing effective damage onto 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏, so maybe this 𝗧𝗏𝗺 has to be the key way of doing that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot to ask for, though. When you put that much pressure on a single Tem, that's usually a recipe for disaster for that Tem. It's able to accomplish a little bit. It can usually get 1 kill, maybe 1.5's worth of HP damage. But doing 2 or more without the proper setups, you know, this 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏 has not been sparked 1 time. It does not have any buffs in its defenses whatsoever. So, I mean, Inner Spirit, this is the only way to do neutral damage into this 𝗬𝗀, so I definitely respect it. And it does get it down low enough that a Toxic Ink will be, or I'm sorry, the Toxic Tick will be bringing it down. But that Savage Suplex does more than half onto 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏. The +2 is ridiculous. The Harmful Lick does even more, down to 11%. Narco Hit is a nice start from this Yggdrasil, followed up next turn by a Beta Burst. Would be some good damage, but now 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏 is so low on HP. I think the only lucky part here is that it does outspeed everything that's on Plat's side, but this could be a really easy swap for Plat. Just protect 𝗧𝗏𝗺, and 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏 could go down this turn. The only positive side in that instance for Prody is that when 𝗧𝗏𝗺 comes back in, it loses this +2 attack.
Yeah, very true, which might actually come down to it. I mean, +2 attack, double damage is so big. So yeah, you're so right. Does 𝗧𝗏𝗺 just want to try to hang in there, try to go for a hibernation in front of another potential Toxic Ink Beta Burst? You know, I feel like that might not be too bad, but at the same time, there's no special defense buff on this 𝗧𝗏𝗺. So 1 Beta Burst plus the Toxic Ink, it connects before the 𝗧𝗏𝗺 goes. You know, 𝗧𝗏𝗺 will go down to that double up most likely, so I don't think snrplat can even risk going for the hibernate here. Oh man, what are these tamers gonna do? Does snrplat want to save the 𝗧𝗏𝗺? And yes, he does. The question is, does Prody save his 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏, or did he just let it go here?
Oh, it looks like he stayed in. He went for the synergy, even if it hardly did anything to 𝗧𝗏𝗺. The only real advantage here is that 2 turns of exhaust, but the Toxic Ink as well, it's not doing anything. He was really betting on 𝗧𝗏𝗺 staying in, you know, just hoping that 𝗬𝗏𝗺𝗏 would swap instead, but no, 𝗬𝗏𝗺 falls down. And now the only counter for 𝗧𝗏𝗺 is a Narco Hit, which is slower than 𝗧𝗏𝗺, and means that Yggdrasil could potentially go down before it's able to get that attack off at all.
Yeah, so coming down to the wire, final 3 Temtems versus the final 3 Temtem. Who is going to get the W here? As you mentioned, you know, looking at it, that +2 attack going away might be a big difference maker. If it comes down to a 1v1 on any of these Tems, that double damage would have been huge. But the Soul Steam doing about good damage, bringing it down to that 41.4. But we do know 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗏 with that first aid kit, with that trans trait. How is Prody gonna deal with that kind of Temtem?
Yeah, I don't know if there is any way left for him now. The Narco Hit comes off on Yggdrasil, I guess just in case of a swap, but there really wasn't any need for it, as the Spores on its own did a lot of damage to Mudred.
And hey,
like
Rawrzyyy,
way too much.
Yeah, a lot of 69s today, right? Why is everything ending up on 69? So Mudred at that 69, but you're so right. A little Spores ended up doing so much, but that was with the 12.5 as well. But still, damage is damage. So another allergic spread could be looking good here. And doesn't even need the 𝗧𝗏𝗺 to deal with the Mudred. I think Magia is looking very nice here, especially with the 𝗧𝗏𝗺 still nice and healthy in the back line. And Ragnit, as we saw before, he can't really do too much. The most he can do is just P-jab it up. But there's not a lot of physical pressure to really follow that up with. I guess Yggdrasil would be the physical pressure. But Prody's Yggdrasil already at -1 defense. So, man, honestly, 1 Savage Suplex, double damage or not, might just take it down. But we'll see. Crystal Dust onto the Yggdrasil, bringing it down to 66. Followed by that Tink, bringing it right above 50%.
Ooh. Yeah, but now the Bark Shield +2/+2. That means that Yggdrasil's not going to accomplish anything for the rest of this game. 18.6% remaining, and it is on its way out. If these two Tems remain as well, Mudred will be going down pretty soon, and Ragnit has no way of fighting this Yggdrasil. I think that snrplat has successfully made the toxic wall.
Yeah, I think so as well, especially as we keep saying that trans trait hasn't procced, that first aid kit hasn't procced, and yeah, that +2 defense looking really nice. Luckily for the side of Prody, it is not special defense, but let's see, is this acid reflux enough to take care of the Yggdrasil? Not just yet. So maybe Yggdrasil will get off an attack, and it does. So Toxic Ink bringing it about to a quarter, and all the spores is not even gonna get a chance to go into that first aid kit range. There we go, 𝗬𝗫𝗄 playing this end game perfectly. It looks like he's definitely going to be taking it home, unless Ragnit is just a crazy MVP here for Prody.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible when you've got the P jabs, you can accomplish a lot. Yowler's looking so healthy. Ragnit does swap in for Mudred right now, expecting, you know, potentially the allergic spread, but no, spores instead onto Ragnit. Toxic Ink as well means that there's going to be a slight decline in HP, all thanks to the spores. It will heal up most of that toxic damage once more. But now Yggdrasil 2.1% on Prody's side. It's still not going to do any damage this turn. I think that Prody really wanted Yggdrasil to die after getting that spores off, but it just isn't so. Mudred kind of trapped in the back on half HP. Ragnit poisoned can start to do the P jabs. 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 on snrplat's side back up to 58% HP, and it hasn't even hit trance or first aid.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting with this 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴.
Just like you're saying.
Yeah, what he's capable of, super impressive. At least he is running low on stamina, so snrplat most likely having a rest right there. But let's see, Ragnit, we did see he has things like charged iron filings that could just be the perfect line of play that Prody needs to try to get some damage from this Yggdrasil before going down, and the charged iron filings do come out. And of course, with the taser, the little tick of burn, 6.25% damage, narcoleptic hit, keeping it above the trance trait, but does go down swinging. All right, coming down to the bitter end. But I think 𝗬𝗫𝗄 with the slight Temtem advantage, and as we keep saying, trance trait first aid kit hasn't procced, looking good to take this home, unless Mudred and Ragnit have something to say for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for Prody there, the burn is what took it down below the trance number. It's still above first aid kit. This is the best opportunity to just click DV, go for some kind of heavy damage onto a nullified 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴. It's now or never. I mean, +2 defense, it's asking for so much if it is Ragnit, if it's 𝗵𝗫𝗄𝗃 electric blow. But I think that Mudred might be able to do it in time.
Yeah, you're so right. It doesn't have any special defense, and Mudred is indeed a special attacker. Oh man, did Prody bring things back at the very end? That charged iron filing with that little ember making a big difference. If that would have gone into trance trait, that +2 special defense would have been huge. Maybe Mudred wouldn't have had enough to one-shot this 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 if it does one-shot it. So let's see. Man, you know, I actually didn't see that interaction. If it goes down under 30% with the tick of burn, it doesn't proc trance. That is so interesting.
Yeah, if it's poison, I guess it can't be poison in this instance, but anything that is status effects, even mirroring, I believe, does not proc trance. It has to be an attack in order to do so. So that does make it a little bit easier for Prody. It's just that slight 1.6% less HP that he doesn't have to worry about, that hopefully won't be 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 hanging on at 1 HP again, as it definitely did in game 2, and might have messed up Prody's day just a little bit. But no, it is the Soils team takes 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 all the way down. avoiding the trance, avoiding the +2, made it all possible. Piezoelectric Blow thrown out onto this Yggdrasil. That was so much damage as well. It didn't even need to be, but it could have potentially been. Now it's all down to Yowler. The one and the only, the big huggable bear himself. He loses his +2 attack, but he can still kill Mudred in a single Savage Suplex and even things up to a Ragnit versus Yowler game.
Yeah, well said. Ragnit is running low on stamina, so if there's one Temtem that could really bring things back around for Magia, it will be this Yowler. Doesn't have that infamous pairing with the Kinu, but still nice and healthy at 65%. More importantly, nice and healthy in terms of stamina. So it should be everything online since Yowler had been on the line, had been a couple turns before on the board. So things like Savage should be there unless he deployed it and then swapped out. Man, I think too much went down in this game for me to remember that. But if he doesn't have Savage, then I believe Prody has a way to come back. So C does go first due to the priority, brings it down under 50%, and there goes the P-Jab. Does Ragnit overexert for that? No, he does not.
Oh, but yeah, that's a nice and easy hibernate click for Yowler. He gets himself back up to 80% HP. This is just so difficult now. I mean, Ragnit could go for another minus defense here, but it means he overexerts and can't click Piezoelectric Blow next turn. He may just have to rest and hope that one is enough. Go for something really strong on Mudred and pray for the best.
Yeah, because I'm wondering who snrplat wants to kill first. I mean, Mudred is more reasonable, but alright, the Soul Steam does bring it down closer to 50, and he does decide on the Mudred, so Mudred is out of here. And oh man, this is such a tall task to ask for the Ragnit here. He does go for a rest, so does recover some stamina. But man, oh man, who is doing the damage? Luckily for the side of Prody though, his attacks are physical. Yowler is at -1 defense, potentially even -2 defense. Man, I guess the only way out. Wait a second. Oh, that is right. Magia only has Savage Suplex.
Oh man, an Electro Punch doesn't overexert. That means the Piezoelectric Blow will go first.
There we go, guys. Ragnit versus the world. We were thinking, what is Ragnit gonna do? But ladies and gents, Prody will be winning that best of 3 series.